Chapter 104. After Xiaoli's funny game, Naruto didn't dare to bet with Sasuke. There is a saying that one should know when to stop. After all, Shikamaru's shadow imitation technique is also a very difficult ability to deal with. Once bound, even the Hyuga clan may suffer a big loss. But Sasuke didn't give up. Naruto, who do you bet on to win this game? Naruto blinked and pretended to be obedient. I want to watch this game quietly. Sasuke's face was gloomy. So, I will write down the matter of you using me as a shield. Naruto smelled a threat. Write it down? Write down what? Wait until there is no outsider, and then suddenly call back? Do I have to add Sasuke, when I'm on guard against Kakashi in the future? Then can I still walk on the street with Hinata in the future? No. One Kakashi is enough for me. I absolutely don't want to add another Sasuke. Naruto decisively decided to admit defeat. How about you win this game? Consider it as offsetting a bet? You win, consider it. Unexpectedly, Sasuke's eyes became sharper after listening. And there seemed to be a trace of the legendary murderous aura. It was the kind of eyes with warmth. When they looked at each other, their hearts would turn cold. There was a hint of coldness in his voice. Do you mean that I can't afford to lose? It's over. Naruto felt that Sasuke seemed to have been played by him, so, let's bet? And then choose Shikamaru to take the initiative to lose a game? Sasuke increased the weight. This time I'll let you choose first. Choose first. This is a good way out. As long as Sasuke loses a game, he may return to normal. However, there was another voice in his head that kept shouting. Let him lose one more round. Let's see how bad he can get. His death-seeking thoughts were starting to cause trouble again. The impulse that came from the bottom of his heart was like the rising tide, pouncing on him again and again, trying to drown him. Naruto held on to his will. No way. If he wins another game against Sasuke this time, maybe Sasuke's head will cramp like Kakashi, and he will subconsciously attack him with electric shock when he is stimulated. However, the voice in his heart grew even louder. What are you afraid of? Sasuke was not Kakashi. If he dared to electrocute him, he would retaliate. When he's taking a shower, I'll turn him into an ice sculpture and make him stand at the crossroads of wood leaf. F***ck. How could I have such evil thoughts? Naruto was startled by the voice in his heart. But just the thought of it was exciting. She couldn't help but think about how many steps it would take to freeze Sasuke into a popsicle and make him stand at the wood leaf crossroads. First step. Understand Sasuke's bathing pattern. Second step. Sneak into Sasuke's house. Third step. Open the bathroom door. Fourth step. Frost ray. That didn't seem right. He didn't know how to do that. What he knew was called the domain of extreme frost. But that wasn't important. Fifth step. Carry the frozen Sasuke. No, if he was seen by others he would be treated as a pervert. Then fifth step. Use the multiple shadow clone technique and transform into Kakashi. Sixth step. Have the Kakashi clone carry the naked ice sculpture Sasuke to the crossroads of wood leaf. Seventh step. Take a photo as a souvenir. Eighth step. Trigger the explosive talisman nearby and attract countless spectators. Wahahaha. Just thinking about that kind of scene made him extremely happy. Then, let's bet on Hinata Ninji. At this moment, Naruto's last bit of rationality suddenly roared. No, absolutely not. This plan was too suicidal. After that, Kakashi wouldn't just use electric shocks. Sasuke might directly use Raikiri. Are you prepared to die? If not, it's not too late to pull back now. Choose Shikamaru Nara. Who should I choose? Just as Naruto was about to pull back, the voice in his heart appeared again. What's the difference between a person who doesn't seek death and a salted fish? The true meaning of life is to challenge and stimulate. Choose Hinata Ninji. Let him lose 3 times in a row. Let's see how bad he can be. Just as Naruto was in a dilemma, Sasuke asked. Who do you choose? You're not really going to wait until the competition is over, are you? Under Sasuke's urging, Naruto gritted his teeth and said, I choose Hinata Ninji. It's over. I'm courting death again, but this excitement and happiness from the bottom of his heart was really intoxicating. Sasuke frowned. Doesn't Hinata have a bad relationship with Hinata Ninji? Naruto blinked. That's a personal grudge, it has nothing to do with the bet. You're not thinking of reenacting the scene where you bet on Lilac, are you? Sasuke didn't say anything, but Naruto could see that Sasuke's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Oh. So this is how you let me choose first. This is the scene of a car accident where you failed to act cool. Naruto didn't continue to provoke Sasuke, but he obediently turned his gaze to the competition. He was afraid that Sasuke would directly have a real-life PK with him. Shikamaru Nara also had a chance of winning, but if Hinata Ninji was caught by the shadow imitation technique, the result was really hard to predict. In the arena, while the two were talking and betting, the referee announced the start of the match. The two exchanged blows for the first time. Shikamaru Nara quickly retreated to distance himself from Hinata Ninji, and at the same time threw out a shuriken. It was a very typical opening for a ninja. But Naruto was more concerned about the place where Shikamaru Nara retreated. It was an area where the ground was cracked. It was the place where Dinji's meat tank and Tooth Inuzuka's tooth collided. What a scheming guy. This guy must be planning to hide his shadow in the crack, and then launch a surprise attack when Hinata Ninji attacked in close range. Because once the shadow imitation technique appeared on the surface, Hinata Ninji would be able to easily dodge it with his eyesight and skills. But the shadow hidden in the crack was not so easy to grasp. Would Hinata Ninji fall into the trap? Hinata Ninji should know about Shikamaru Nara's technique. Hinata, do you know about the Nara clan? Naruto suddenly asked. Hinata pressed her index fingers together, and her small fists bumped together from time to time. I know, the Nara clan is also very famous in Woodleaf. Most of the herbs needed for Woodleaf's medical treatment are provided by the Nara clan. It is said that, Naruto interrupted. I'm not asking about that, I'm talking about combat. Hinata paused for a moment. Oh, this. I know a little. It is said that they are good at controlling their own shadow to control the enemy. If Hinata knows, then Hinata Ninji has no reason not to know. But, why did this guy continue to attack Shikamaru Nara? Could it be that he had other preparations? In the arena, Hinata Ninji dodged 4 shurikens from Shikamaru Nara, and as he dodged he quickly approached. From above he looked like a zigzag lightning bolt. He was very fast, his steps light, and his long hair fluttered behind his back. He had a calmness that could kill one person in 10 steps. 5 meters, 3 meters, Shikamaru Nara's hands began to form seals. His speed was very fast and smooth, and at the same time his body shot backward. When the seals were completed, Shikamaru Nara's body landed. At this time, Hinata Ninji and Shikamaru Nara were only 1 meter apart. Shadow imitation technique. The shadow under Shikamaru's feet moved. On the surface, it shot directly at Hinata Ninji, who was close at hand. This attack was definitely not that simple. Perhaps there was another attack hidden in the dark. Naruto opened his eyes wide, ready to witness this historic moment. Chapter 105. Naruto, who was staring at the game, was very sure. The attack on the surface certainly can't hit Hinata Ninji, because the speed of Shikamaru Nara's shadow seems to be very fast, but that's only if there's no reference. Naruto learned the Hyuga clan's taijutsu when he practiced with Hinata. If the speed without using the 8 trigram 64 palms is 1, then the speed of the 8 trigram 64 palms is 10. That's almost comparable to the speed of the body flicker technique. And this one alone is faster than Shikamaru Nara's shadow. So if Shikamaru still wants to win, he can only rely on his wisdom and secretly set a trap. Where is this trap? Naruto stared at the 2 people on the field. Hinata Ninji has stepped into the crisscrossed area full of cracks. At this time, no matter where the shadow jumped out, Naruto wouldn't be surprised. On the field, Hinata Ninji. Nara clan's ninjutsu is too slow. On the surface, the shadow that rushed straight to Hinata Ninji was easily avoided by Hinata Ninji. It was a very cool dodge, extremely calm. He even had the time to talk about it. Your clan should be hiding in the dark and waiting for the opportunity to move. Shikamaru Nara's shadow didn't chase too deep. It immediately retracted its forward thrust and distributed around the surrounding. The advantage of this is that if Hinata Ninji's hand touches Shikamaru Nara, the shadows of the 2 will overlap, so the condition of the shadow imitation technique is met. At the same time, Naruto also found that the Shikamaru Nara clan's shadow imitation technique, the closer the shadow is to the body, the faster the shadow is. Within half a meter, without using the 8 trigrams 64 palms, the shadow can keep up with Hinata Ninji's rhythm. Doesn't Shikamaru Nara plan to sneak attack? Are we just going to stand guard like this? Impossible. Everyone in Woodleaf knew that the ninjutsu of the Nara clan consumed a lot of Chakra's energy. If he continued to defend like this, he would be exhausted to death even before Hinata Ninji attacked. But with Shikamaru's personality, he might really want to continue like this. Then, after Chakra ran out of energy, he announced that he had lost. After all, this guy never showed any signs of taking the ninja exam seriously, whether from the expression on his face or his words. Naruto still remembered that during the first exam, when Naruto had pointed out that Ino had cheated, this guy had left the examination room without waiting for Ibiki's announcement. At that time he even said, "You were caught." In that case, he wouldn't have to participate in the competition after that. Whether there was a secret method or not, only Shikamaru Nara himself would know the answer to this question before the end of the competition. Just when Naruto was in a dilemma, Sasuke suddenly said, "The Hinata Ninja you bet on is going to lose." This sentence came out of nowhere. If Sasuke didn't lose his mind, then he must have seen something. Naruto looked at Sasuke. Sasuke was also very hardworking. At this time, he actually opened his Sharingan to watch the competition. "What did you find?" Sasuke turned to look at Naruto and deliberately pretended to be strange and asked, "You didn't find it?" At this moment, as long as people had eyes, they could see the pride on Sasuke's face. That kind of arrogant tone, doubtful eyes and a trace of sigh. "Fuck. I don't have a Sharingan. Where can I see it?" The Sharingan's insight is not as good as the Byakugan, but it has the bug-level ability of dynamic vision. The so-called dynamic vision is the ability to slow down extremely fast speed in front of the eyes. Of course, the so-called slowdown can't change the trajectory of the object itself. But with the addition of extremely fast nerve reaction speed, the calculation speed of the brain is subverted, and the scene is broken down into slow motion. Coupled with the ability to see chakra, it's normal to find something that Naruto can't. Naruto looked at Sasuke, and Sasuke looked at Naruto. Naruto was waiting for Sasuke to continue, and Sasuke was waiting for Naruto to answer his question. The look in his eyes even had some encouragement and expectation. Well, I'll satisfy Sasuke's little sense of superiority. Naruto made a fake worship expression and said, "I didn't see it, did you see it?" This expression was too fake, so fake that Sasuke couldn't bear to look directly at it, and turned his head back to the game. The original expectation and pride on his face also turned into an S-eating expression. He was shocked by Naruto's expression. Sasuke felt that he was still too young to find a sense of accomplishment from Naruto. It's a bit difficult. Hey, can you not finish your sentence halfway? What did you see? When Naruto complained, Kakashi glanced at Naruto with contempt, meaning nothing more than to ridicule Naruto. Thinking back to when he was choked by Naruto's half-spoken words, and then looking at the current Naruto. Cool. Although Kakashi also wanted to know what Sasuke saw. Compared to seeing Naruto suffer, that was nothing. However, Sasuke obviously didn't notice the lethality of speaking halfway to Naruto, so he turned his head and spoke soon after. Shikamaru Nara is baiting Hinata Ninji to attack. You can observe carefully that the net of shadows surrounding Shikamaru Nara on the ground is not a uniform circle, but an irregular oval. The shadows on both sides cover a large area, and both sides are narrow. Naruto looked at the game. The area that Sasuke mentioned, under Naruto's careful observation, seemed to be a difference of only 5 or 6 centimeters. However, as time passed, this difference was gradually increasing. However, Naruto wasn't sure whether this was Shikamaru Nara baiting Ninji, or Ninji baiting Shikamaru Nara. The Nara clan's shadow imitation technique had a limitation. Although it could change the shape of the shadow, it couldn't change the area of the shadow. This directly affected the distance that the shadow could extend outwards. It could be said that Hinata Ninji was attacking the weak spot every time. It could also be said that Hinata Ninji was baiting Shikamaru Nara to use the shadow to chase after him. because Naruto noticed that Hinata Ninji's attack speed was slowing down. It was like a decrease in speed caused by fatigue. Naruto didn't think that this amount of movement could tire Hinata Ninji. The only explanation was that Hinata Ninji was creating the illusion of a decrease in speed, luring Shikamaru into thinking that the shadow could catch up. And then the result. Every time Shikamaru Nara's pursuit was lengthened. If one side of the shadow was lengthened, the other two sides would be narrowed because the area of the shadow was constant. Naruto voiced his guess. Sasuke shook his head and said, "That doesn't make sense at all. As long as Hinata Ninji comes into contact with Shikamaru Nara, the shadow will inevitably be connected. So Hinata Ninji can't be the mastermind behind the battle." Naruto complained. "If you can think of touching the body, then the shadow will be connected. I think Hinata Ninji can also think of it, so why is he working so hard? There must be a solution." Sasuke was stunned and somewhat puzzled. What solution? Isn't the Hyuga clan's taijutsu all close combat? This time it wasn't Naruto who answered him but Hinata. There are also techniques that don't need to touch the body, such as air palm. Air palm. It was the air palm that could send chakra into the enemy's meridians. Sasuke suddenly realized that because Hinata was not familiar with this move, she didn't use it often, so Sasuke ignored it. Sasuke asked, "Then why don't you just use vacuum palm? Why bother?" Naruto sneered. "Fool, of course it's because air palm has a distance limit." Naruto found that recently, he couldn't help but mock Sasuke more and more. Seeing Sasuke suffer, he was inexplicably happy. Chapter 106. Between Hinata Ninji and Shikamaru Nara, who won? Between Naruto and Sasuke, who was right? Sasuke and Naruto stared at each other, and then began to watch the match below. Hinata Ninji began to retreat under the pursuit of Shikamaru Nara's shadow. This was the longest distance that Shikamaru Nara's shadow had pursued him since the battle began. A full 8 meters away. Then, Hinata Ninji suddenly accelerated, increasing his speed to the extreme. 8 trigrams 64 palms. At this moment, ordinary people's naked eyes can no longer capture Hinata Ninji's shadow. Sasuke's dynamic vision with his 2 Tomo Sharingan can barely capture Hinata Ninji's shadow. Hinata Ninji disappeared in place, and when he reappeared, he was already standing behind Shikamaru Nara, 1 meter away. Vacuum palm. Hinata Ninji raised his hand, and chakra began to gather in his hand. At the same time, under Hinata Ninji's feet, a shadow was rising up. This shadow hasn't climbed out of the ground yet, and Sasuke only discovered it because of chakra's fluctuations. Sasuke can be sure that Shikamaru Nara is already prepared, but can he catch up? Hinata Ninji's arm is not as fast as before. After all, vacuum palm and 8 trigrams 64 palms are not the same taijutsu. Borrowing the speed of 8 trigrams 64 palms, switching to vacuum palm halfway, it is inevitable that there will be some stagnation during the process. Under the dynamic vision of Sasuke's Sharingan, Hinata Ninji's palm is slowly pushing out. In the crack not far from his feet, the shadow with chakra's shadow is also slowly rising up. For Sasuke, this is an extremely long process. It seems like a century has passed. But for Naruto, it is only a moment. Hinata Ninji disappeared from his place in an instant, and reappeared behind Shikamaru Nara, and then used vacuum palm. At this time, Shikamaru's eyes were still looking at the position where Hinata Ninji disappeared, and the shadow chasing hasn't retreated yet. So in Naruto's view, he won this match. But changes always appear a little unexpected. Hinata Ninji's palm suddenly stopped halfway. Then his body mechanically began to make a half-squatting posture. That is Shikamaru Nara's posture. "I won TSK. Sasuke's eyes closed, and the death aura of death on his body has already completely dissipated. It is Holzazazazaz was. His was Kind's expression and said to Naruto, "It seems that I won this bet." Naruto was confused. "How did you win?" "The shadow obviously didn't retract." Sasuke happily explained. When Shikamaru Nara used the shadow to chase Hinata Ninji, he didn't use his full strength, but a part of the shadow extended into the crack under his feet. So as long as Hinata Ninji appears behind him, then Hinata Ninji will be hit. But Hinata Ninji is obviously also prepared. Hinata Ninji chose to attack the most intact part of the ground. So Hinata Ninji's shadow didn't come into contact with the crack on the ground. So it took a little time for Shikamaru's shadow to extend out of the crack. Naruto blinked. So many things happened in just a moment? In this regard, Naruto said that he didn't see anything. The Sharingan of the Uchiha clan is really amazing. Should I find a chance to transplant one for myself? It is said that the Sharingan will consume a lot of chakra, but I'm not afraid. I have a lot of chakra. Moreover, even if his chakra is used up, he can still borrow the chakra of the Nine Tails, so the future is simply great. Thinking of this, Naruto looked at Sasuke's eyes. If I can use this bet to exchange for a pair of Sasuke's eyes, well, one eye is fine too. Sasuke didn't know what kind of terrible thoughts Naruto had because of losing a game, so he was still proudly explaining, and very generously promised. Although I won a game, but overall I still lost a game to you. You can rest assured that I will never break that game. Break that game? So Sasuke had the idea of breaking the game before? Or does he have this intention? By the way, what if Sasuke really wants to break the game? Well, if he dares to break the game, then I'll freeze him into an ice sculpture while he's taking a bath and carry him to the intersection of wood leaf. Sasuke was very happy. Winning a game made him regain his confidence, and the previous losses can be attributed to a moment of carelessness. After all, he only lost one game so far. One game is nothing. Naruto didn't see Sasuke lose 3 games in a row, so he was a little disappointed, so he was silent. But at this moment, something unexpected happened again. Shikamaru Nara suddenly raised his hand and said, "I admit defeat." Sasuke's face was still calm, but Naruto's lost mood hasn't calmed down. Both of them looked at Shikamaru Nara at the same time. At this time, because Shikamaru Nara raised his hand, Hinata Ninji's hand also raised under the rules of the shadow imitation technique. The referee Moonlight Rush confirmed again. "You want to give up this game?" Shikamaru Nara put down his hand and put it in his pocket, and at the same time released the ninjutsu and said, "Well, I choose to give up the game." Moonlight Rush nodded and announced, "Shikamaru Nara voluntarily gives up the game. Winner, Hinata Ninji." Sasuke's expression was petrified. Naruto's eyes curved and looked at Sasuke from the corner of his eyes. "It's funny," he said leisurely. "Sai 3 games in a row, 3 bets. Sasuke-san, you won't go back on your words, right?" Sasuke's chakra went straight to his eyes, and 2 Tomo Sharingan instantly opened. Damn it. Sasuke is broken. How do you break genjutsu? Ordinary genjutsu requires an outsider to touch the body confused by the genjutsu to wake up the person trapped in the genjutsu. But the genjutsu of the Sharingan is much stronger than ordinary genjutsu. Well, if there is no outsider, he can ask the 9 tails in his body for help. But now Naruto Sandame is not far away. If Naruto Sandame feels the aura of the 9 tails, he will know that he can already control the 9 tails chakra. A human pillar force that can use the power of a 9 tails. At that time, Wood Leaf will definitely strengthen the monitoring of him. That's not the life Naruto wants to live. Just when Naruto's brain was thinking of countermeasures, Sasuke's whole body trembled, his eyes staring at Naruto, but he didn't use the genjutsu. He was enduring. And enduring it was very difficult. Naruto was like a little boy who met a hound, standing there motionless. Because experience has shown that when encountering a hound, one must never do anything that would make the other party suspicious. As long as you stand there honestly, there is an 85% chance that the hound won't bite you. But if you move or even make a counterattack, then there is a 95% chance that the hound will pounce on you and gently bite your thigh. If it's bad, like Sasuke in front of him, it will directly pounce on your throat without hesitation. The two of them looked at each other for 5 seconds. Sasuke's Sharingan faded away, and he gritted his teeth and said, "I won't renege on your bet." Naruto nodded his head again and said, "I'm just saying, how can Sasuke-kun do something so ungentlemanly like reneging on a bet?" In his heart he muttered, "It's good to renege on the bet, then I have a good reason to freeze you while you are taking a bath, and then carry you to Wood Leaf's intersection." At this time, the name of the last match appeared on the screen, the 9th match, Hinata vs. Ino Yamanaka. Chapter 107. Hinata vs Ino Yamanaka. 10 seconds after the start of the game. Hinata won. It was a very simple game, because Hinata listened to Naruto's words. At the beginning of the game, she didn't say a word and did one more thing. She came up and directly used 8 trigrams 64 palms. Before Ino Yamanaka could use ninjutsu, she instantly KO. At the end of the game, the screen on the field announced the list of qualifiers. With Leaf, Kakashi Hatake, Uzumaki Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke, Hinata. With Leaf Metke, Tian Lee Lock, Hinata Ninji. With Leaf Sarutobi Asuma, Akimichi Dingji. San Ninja Baki, My Love Hanbao. Everyone looked up at the list, and at first glance, they all locked on the team named Kakashi Hatake. At the same time, a string of numbers appeared in their heads. Uzumaki Naruto finished the battle in 3 seconds, Uchiha Sasuke finished in 2 seconds, Hinata finished in 10 seconds. Kakashi Hatake himself was also looking at the list. At this time, he was in a good mood. Naruto struck the iron while it was hot. Kakashi-sensei, we all advanced. Kakashi nodded and praised. Good performance. Naruto smiled. So, you see, you should also mention the B figure you invited this time? Kakashi hesitated for a moment, but thought that the results were really good this time, so it's okay to mention it. So he agreed, yes. On the opposite side of Naruto's stand, Red Bean jumped down. Please gather on the ground for the official competition. In the stands, Naruto and Ibiki watched Red Bean jump down silently, turned silently and walked down the stairs. After all, he was a big man, he should be steady. 2 minutes later, everyone gathered in front of the stone statue where Sandame Naruto had spoken before the start of the exam. In front of the huge rock arm with the knot seal. Sandame Naruto stood in the center. Moonlight Rush finished his duties as the preliminary referee and stood aside. Ibiki and Red Bean stood behind Sandame Naruto as examiners. Sandame Naruto straightened Naruto's hat and said, "Next, I will explain the content of the official competition. As I said before, the official competition will be held in public. You will represent the strength of your country, and I hope that you will be able to perform at your best. For this reason, the competition will be held in 1 month. In other words, this is the time for you to prepare for the competition, and it is also the time for us to inform Sanin's Kazekage, as well as the big names and dignitaries of each country to come and watch the competition." Sandame Naruto spoke without stopping. Naruto slipped away again. From Naruto's point of view, the only important thing was that the competition would be held in 1 month. How important were the other competitions, the responsibilities on your shoulders, how to use the information obtained in the competition to come up with effective strategies, how to analyze other people's weaknesses, and how to improve yourself. It was all nonsense. However, the more important a person was, the more they liked to talk nonsense. So what was Naruto thinking? He was thinking about who he would be matched up against. It would be best if it was Tian, because that girl only knew how to throw darts. She could throw darts with one hand, throw with both hands and spread out scrolls, so it was easy to deal with. Secondly, against Akimichi Dingji was also fine. The Akimichi clan's multiplication jutsu was strong, but it was useless if he couldn't hit his target. Naruto was confident that he could make that cute fatty Dingji die of exhaustion without being able to touch him. After all, the Ino Shikacho's true strength lay in their teamwork. The Nara clan's shadow imitation jutsu and the Yamanaka clan's mind-body jutsu could both control the enemy. The Akimichi clan only needed to use powerful attacks to destroy the enemy. The opposite effect of pursuing teamwork was that when they were together, they were the sky, and when they were apart, they were the ground. There was nothing to fear. If he couldn't meet those two, then he could meet Hanbao. In any case, as long as he didn't meet My Love, Lilac, Sasuke, or Hinata Ninji, everything would be fine. Then what about Hinata? If Hinata met My Love, she wouldn't need to fight and would just surrender. If she met Hinata Ninji, then it would be troublesome. Although Hinata sometimes listened to him, Naruto had a premonition that if she met Hinata Ninji, Hinata would choose to fight. This was because when Hinata Ninji went on stage, although Naruto was also watching the match, he was also paying attention to Hinata. He noticed that Hinata didn't do anything, and her fists were also tightly clenched. He didn't know why she was feeling so conflicted, but he knew that something was wrong. Just as Naruto's thoughts were drifting and worrying about the country and its people, the third Naruto finally finished his speech on how to increase his strength and how to use this 1 month's time. The third Naruto said, "Now please draw your lots." After saying this, the third Naruto gestured to Red Bean beside him. Red Bean held a cardboard box and walked towards everyone. Naruto looked at the piece of paper in his hand, number 3. Then he looked at Hinata. Hinata noticed Naruto's gaze and showed her number to Naruto, number 7. Hinata is number 7? If I remember correctly, in the development of the original world, number 7 is empty. If the development of the world didn't change during this period of time, then this would be the most auspicious draw. Just as Hinata was showing Naruto the number, the third Naruto cleared his throat. Ahem. Now from left to right, announce your number. Announce my number? Does that mean I'm not allowed to exchange? Naruto was on the far left, and he announced, number 3. Next to him was Hinata, number 7. Sasuke, number 1. Dingji, number 9. Lilac, number 2. Lilac is number 2. Then, Sasuke versus Lilac? Tian, number 8. Ningji, number 5. Hanbao, number 6. My love, number 4. My love is number 4. Naruto felt his vision go dark, and in his heart, millions of what the fuck's galloping across. Wait a minute. Maybe the rules of the competition have changed? Naruto pulled himself together, and he felt like he could still be saved. After everyone had reported their numbers, Ibixi opened up a list of battle order for everyone to see. It was a pyramid-shaped list of matches. Number 1 versus number 2. Number 3 versus number 4. Then there was a line above the two groups, which meant that the winners of the two groups would fight again. Below it were the names that Ibiki had just added. Below number 1 was Uchiha Sasuke, and below number 2 was Lilac. Below number 3 was Uzumaki Naruto, and below number 4 was My Love. This was an extremely exciting grouping, and it was as exciting as a storm. In other words, the 4 of them would have to fight to determine a winner. Save? No way. This was so heart-wrenching. So heart-wrenching. The other groupings were much more peaceful. Number 5 Hinata Ningji versus number 6 Hanbao. Number 7 Hinata was given a bye. Well, it wasn't exactly a bye, but rather, after number 8 Tian and number 9 Dingji fought, she would fight the winner. After all, there were 9 contestants in the competition. Why wasn't number 9 given a bye? This was Naruto's subconscious reaction when he saw this map. Perhaps it was because of the different cultures. However, it was still good for number 7 to be given a bye. Number 8 Tian and number 9 Dingji weren't strong to begin with, and they were exhausted after a fight, so there was no reason for Hinata not to win. As for Hinata, who would be fighting against Hinata Ningji after she won, Naruto was thinking about what kind of drug he should give to Hinata Ningji. And My Love, should he try some too? Chapter 108. After the official list was confirmed, Sandame Naruto's eyes swept over everyone. Do you have any questions about the official competition? Yes, of course. Naruto wanted to ask who came up with this stupid grouping method. It's really too deceptive. Hinata Ningji raised his hand and asked. The competition uses an elimination system, and there is only one winner in the end. Does that mean that only one person can be promoted to Chunin? Hinata Ningji's question attracted a lot of attention. And this question was also the question in the hearts of most of the people present. Chunin looked at Hinata Ningji, and then looked at Sandame Naruto at the same time. Naruto smiled and said, although the competition is an elimination system, and there is only one winner, it doesn't mean that only one person can pass the Chunin exam. In other words, whether you can be promoted to Chunin and win the competition has certain factors, but the greater decision-making power is determined by me, the invited Kazekage, and the score of the daimyo of each country. So, as long as your performance is good enough and you get recognized, even if you lose the first game, you can still be promoted to Chunin. Hearing this answer, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Then Naruto answered a few more unimportant questions, and everyone was dismissed. In theory, the next month's arrangement was free. But before leaving, my love blinked in front of Naruto. Enjoy the last month, or don't participate in the competition, otherwise, I will take your life. Facing such a threat, Naruto said unyieldingly, "Don't worry, if there is one person who must die, then that person can only be you. But I don't plan to kill you. How about we make a bet? If you lose to me, you have to call me Big Brother when you see me in the future." My love directly spat out the sand bottle cork on his back. The smell of blood spread out from the sand bottle. This was a sign that he was going to directly attack. Marky shouted, "My love!" At the same time, Ibiki Marino, Red Bean Mitarai, and the great Kakashi Hatake simultaneously appeared beside my love, surrounding him in a triangular formation. It could be seen that as long as my love chose to make a move at this time, the three of them would definitely not sit idly by. My love's eyes were bloodshot as he stared at Naruto. He was like an enraged beast that was ready to devour its prey at any moment. But in the end, he held himself back. The cork flew back and was plugged back. "All right. I'll bet with you, but if I win, I'll take your life." She then turned around and left through the gap between Ibiki and Red Bean. Ibiki smiled wryly as she looked at Naruto. "You're such a troublemaker." Naruto scratched his head. "Of course not, I'm very obedient. It's just that trouble keeps finding me, so I think it must be because I'm too outstanding." Ibiki, who was originally somewhat worried, instantly had an expression that made it seem as if she had eaten ants. She then silently walked away. After this small interlude, Naruto pondered as he followed behind Kakashi, Sasuke, and Hinata as they left the Forest of Death together. It seemed that Naruto-Sandame and the other examiners had no intention of leaving immediately. It seemed that they still had something to discuss. After my love left, Naruto's thoughts returned to the time when he was interrupted by my love, and continued to ponder. What kind of drug should he give Hinata Ninji? How should he do it? When should he do it? These were all things that needed to be researched. For Hinata's safety, it wasn't a big deal to let his brother-in-law suffer a bit. As for my love, it was also a headache to deal with him because he couldn't expose Ninetales' chakra. Why not just directly poison him to death before the match? Thinking like this, after leaving Naruto-Sandame, Ninetales' sealed space, which had been cut off for a long time, finally had some movement. Naruto complained to Ninetales. "Nine Llamas, Sensei, you saw the scene just now. Do you think that I should directly poison my love to death before the match?" In the cage sealed by Ninetales, the corners of Ninetales' mouth cracked open, revealing his snow-white teeth. He seemed to be laughing. "Naruto, although I really want that guy Shikaku to die because of human pillar force, but if you do that, don't think that you can learn wind release body flicker technique from Shikaku." Yes. I forgot about this. He was still preparing to learn wind release body flicker technique from One Tail. However, Naruto was somewhat puzzled and asked, "Although I poison my love, Shikaku might not know about it, right? As long as the technique is good." The smile on Ninetales' face froze, and he asked, "You killed him once, and you still have the nerve to ask him to teach you wind release body flicker technique? Where is your morality and conscience?" Naruto was stunned by the question. This question. My morality and conscience seemed to still be there before the exam. I was careless during the exam. I lost it. Well, after tricking Sasuke 3 times, Naruto found that he gradually liked tricking people. Ninetales. "No." Naruto quickly reacted, thinking, "I can't trick a chibi in front of Ninetales." Although it seems that Ninetales and Ninetales don't get along, it's not good to let Ninetales have the illusion that I'm an ingrate. Ninetales is my biggest cheat. There must be no problem. The crisis of trust must be eliminated. Naruto quickly remedied. "Don't worry, I'm just joking. I won't do such a wicked thing." Then he changed the topic. "Nine Llamas, Sensei, if I defeat my love on the field, can you take the opportunity to let me see a chibi and learn wind release body flicker technique?" As soon as he asked this, Naruto regretted it. This topic change is too awkward. Because even if you use your butt to think, you know that it's impossible. Even if he can defeat my love on the field, where will he have time to learn? What to do? What can be done? Naruto felt that the more he said, the worse it will become. It's over, sigh. I'm really a good kid. I don't even know how to lie. However, unexpectedly, Ninetales. Yes, as long as you can defeat my love and then put your hand on his body, I can instantly establish a spiritual link with him and ask for Shikaka's wind release body flicker technique. After that, I'll teach you. Fuck. This is also possible? Successfully change the topic. At this time, Kakashi looked back at Naruto, who had a lot on his mind. He thought that Naruto was worried about my love. He said, "Do you want me to treat you today? I see that you all have a lot on your mind. Why don't you hurry up and prepare for the exam in a month? Then treat us until the official exam is over?" Until the official exam is over? How can that be? At that time, Sandame Naruto will be dead, and the whole wood leaf will be in a mess because of Orochimaru. How can they calm down and eat? No need to wait until the exam is over. Today is the day. How can Naruto look on helplessly as the meal that was easy to scam was ruined? So he immediately interrupted Kakashi's words. He continued, "Kakashi-sensei, don't tell me that you don't want to spend money? The three of us had to eat and sleep in the open during the exam. We didn't even have a full meal for 3 days. This is a good opportunity to replenish our food." Chapter 109. Naruto slept in the open for 3 days? Bullshit, he slept leisurely in his sleeping bag for 3 days. As for food, snake soup, roasted rabbit, those were both meat and vegetables, very nutritious. However, Hinata and Sasuke believed this sentence. After all, in their opinion, Naruto sneaked into the enemy's camp alone, so he must have a hard time hiding. It would be even more difficult to find the scroll. Hinata looked at Naruto-kun with a distressed expression. Naruto-kun. Kakashi looked at the three people. Did the three of them have a hard time in the competition? The three people's clothes were spotless. It's just that Sasuke and Hinata's clothes were obviously not the same as the ones they wore when they participated in the competition. On second thought, when was it not a treat? Then today is good. Go home and change your clothes in a while. We'll gather again in the evening. Very good. It seems that this meal won't be a failure. Naruto was very satisfied. The second exam of Chunin's exam ended. Konoha's ninjas also began to withdraw from the examination room one after another. Sandame Naruto and several examiners discussed Orochimaru's matter in the tower, and soon after, they also left. No one noticed that there was still a guy in the examination room who didn't leave. No, to be precise, he couldn't leave, or it's not in the sense that he can't leave. Forest of Death. Under a big tree surrounded by a bamboo forest, in a spacious cave, Naruto's 3 clones were holding 3 bear cubs and foolishly looking at a giant beast outside the cave. A 5-meter-tall giant beast. It has round ears, a round head, a round body, a snow-white belly and head, pitch-black limbs, and pitch-black eyes. This is a panda in Naruto's understanding, but it's also not a panda in Naruto's understanding. It has the appearance of a panda, but its head is too big. When Naruto saw the giant panda, the 3 babies in his arms also saw it. He cried out in a childish voice. The giant panda stretched out its hand towards Naruto's doppelganger, and Little Bear took the initiative to grab the panda's paw and climb up. The 3 little bear cats climbed onto the giant panda's body. Then, the panda roared at Naruto's 3 doppelgangers and slammed its claws down. Boom. One of the clones was smashed apart. The main body's orders. 1. Begin the operation when the sky turns dark. Main body command. 2. Prohibit any battle in the Forest of Death to avoid being discovered by the Woodleaf ninjas. Main body command. 3. Only carry the little bear and run away. And do not let the little bear get hurt. Original body's command. 4. If the little bear is gone, don't come back. Remove it on the spot. As a result, the other 2 clones self-destructed after the first one was smashed. Bang. Bang. The clones were removed. Before they disappeared, only one thought flashed through their minds. Why didn't the idiot main body say that he met the little bear's parents? How should we deal with them? After the clone was removed, the clone's dying message was transmitted to the main body. Naruto, who was already sitting cross-legged at the dining table and ready to eat, cursed angrily. Run! Carry the little bear and run! At the dining table, Kakashi, Sasuke, and Hinata looked at Naruto. Naruto's anger was instantly extinguished, and he forced himself to explain. I just thought of a tactic, and I couldn't help but get excited. The plan to steal the little bear was thought of by Naruto after he saw it. Naruto decided to raise the little bear in the store manager's garden because the store manager's house was very big, and there was a large bamboo forest in the garden. Should the main body go there again? Naruto was a little tempted. After the meal, Naruto was very full. In order to ruthlessly take advantage of Kakashi, he worked very hard. Of course, there was also the anger of failing to steal the bear. Should he still go and catch the little bear? Mother Bear's mother seemed to be very cruel. How good would it be if the little bear didn't have parents? He didn't think about how the little bear, who couldn't even take care of himself, didn't have parents. At the same time, on another street next to Naruto's, an uncle was humming a tune and walking in wooden clogs toward Naruto's building. The uncle had snow-white hair that was like a needle tip. His hair was very fluffy and long, and it was straight below his waist. When he walked, it looked like a tail was swinging behind him, attracting the attention of the roadside kittens. However, the uncle's taste was really terrible. He wore a set of feces green clothes and pants, and a red mandarin jacket, typical red and green, smelly bullsh *T. Moreover, from time to time, he would use his little finger to pick his nose. His eyes were wandering, and his face was lascivious as he looked at the big-breasted girls passing by. Also, his forehead protector was a non-mainstream oil character. As for his overall appearance, if Naruto were to evaluate him, he would be a ninja version of a punk. Naruto and the uncle passed by each other across the street. Should I go and catch the panda? If I catch it, wouldn't it be a bit cruel? Whether it's for the bear cub or mother bear. Why do I feel like I'm poaching? Sigh. I'm so conflicted. I really want to raise a pet. Should I just catch one? Naruto walked into a shop and came out 5 minutes later. He continued to walk in the direction of his home. Another 5 minutes later, a young man with a common face walked out and headed toward the shop owner's house. Naruto was already very familiar with using his clone to go home and pretend to be asleep while his original body went to the shop owner's house. When he arrived at the shop owner's house, Haru Sakuratani, a girl with short red hair, handed him 2 letters. Naruto took them. One letter was signed by Kanon Chiba, and the other was from the director. The director's letters are sent here directly? Naruto asked Chun. Chun nodded and smiled. Yes. Then Naruto also smiled. It seems that the director has met your family's eldest daughter, and maybe they have already started working together. Naruto first opened the director's letter. As expected, at the beginning of the letter he expressed his deep regret that Naruto couldn't join his team. Then he was very satisfied with Naruto's recommendation. He praised Kanon Chiba for her beauty, her manners, and her outstanding swordsmanship. He also said that the moment he saw Hanin, his mind exploded with inspiration. His next work would revolve around Kanon Chiba, creating a poignant love story about a swordswoman, Princess G. The first page was full, the second page was also full, the third page was full, and the fourth page was half full, as well as a signature. Kanon Chiba's dream of becoming a star was a success. Naruto was sincerely happy for her, but in the letter, only the first sentence expressed his regret that Naruto couldn't join the team. The rest were all praises for Kanon Chiba and his bullshit inspiration. Naruto grumbled unhappily. Infatuated director. Are you sure that's inspiration and not your hormones that are 50 years late? Then Naruto showed the letter to Chun. I guessed right. The next time I see your family's eldest daughter, she will be a big star. Chun took the letter and read it. Naruto opened Kanon Chiba's letter. The first part was filled with gratitude. And then, the more he read, the more dumbfounded Naruto's expression became. After reading the letter, Chun looked at the dumbfounded Naruto. Did the eldest daughter tell you something shocking? Naruto nodded dumbfoundedly. She said she was very grateful to me. So she gave you to me. Chapter 110. Haru Sakuratani took the letter. The first part of the letter was a thank you to Naruto. After talking about the interesting story of meeting the director at the birthday party, Chiba Hainen handed Naruto's letter to the director. Then they naturally came to an agreement. After that, the letter said that the Sakuratani sisters would be given to Naruto. But there were more words at the end. The handwriting was different. It was written by the store manager. It said that Canon Chiba was only joking, but if Seiji really wanted to take those two girls, he could try to woo Hana and become the store manager's son-in-law. It was obvious that Naruto's brain would have crashed if he hadn't seen the store manager's letter. After that, the store manager said that he needed to stay by his daughter's side and wouldn't be returning to Woodleaf anytime soon. The store would be left to Naruto to take care of. If he didn't know how or had no time, he could leave it to the sisters. There was also a detailed description of how the store would be stocked, as well as some other details. It was obvious that the store manager wouldn't be returning anytime soon. After reading the letter, Haru Sakuratani looked at Naruto with a smile. Since Milady has given us to you, you're our master now. May I ask what your orders are? Naruto's brain successfully rebooted. He looked at Haru Sakuratani and blinked as he said uncertainly, It's just a letter, right? It can't even be considered a document. It can't be counted, right? Haru Sakuratani said respectfully, Milady's words are the highest order. It can be counted. Master, if you have any requests, please feel free to let us know. Naruto blinked, then straightened his back and cleared his throat. Where's Xia? Haru Sakuratani replied respectfully, Xia is baking desserts for Master. Master, do you want Xia to come? By the way, Xia still doesn't know about this. Should I go and call her? Naruto's eyes lit up when he heard about desserts. He said, no need to call her. Just tell her directly, and have her make more delicious desserts today. Haru Sakuratani bowed respectfully, then went to find Xia. Naruto rubbed his chin and said cheekily, I won't have to worry about desserts in the future. I can eat as much as I want. I won't have to worry about those two stealing my desserts anymore. In the kitchen, Summer was busy. Spring walked in with a smile and whispered in Spring's ear for a while. Xia's eyes lit up. Sister, it's not good to tease a guest like this. Are you going to give up on this plan? Xia shook his head resolutely. If the first miss finds out about this, she will scold me for giving up on such a fun plan. They looked at each other and laughed. Half an hour later, Xia respectfully brought the pastries over. Master, please have a taste. Delicious after 3 bites. Anything else? Naruto blinked. Didn't I ask him to make more? Then, another tray appeared in Xia's hand. On it was another type of dessert. She stored the desserts in a storage ninja tool. Naruto started eating again. Every time he finished a piece, Naruto would ask if there was more. Then he would eat to his heart's content. He didn't know how many times he repeated this. The trays on the table were stacked up high. Is there more? Xia looked at the tray and was speechless. She looked at Naruto's stomach that didn't change much and shook her head. Naruto burped. If Xia knew that Naruto ate Kakashi's high-grade barbecue before eating these desserts, she would be even more shocked. Master, is there anything else? Naruto shook his head. Master, Xia will prepare hot water for you to take a bath? Naruto shook his head. I've already taken a bath. Master, do you want to go back to rest? Naruto shook his head. I'll go sit in the courtyard for half an hour to digest. Xia blinked and wondered if she had been too tactful with her question. Lying on the rattan chair on the roof and looking at the stars in the sky, Naruto unknowingly fell asleep. The two sisters saw that half an hour passed and still didn't see Naruto. So, they went up to the roof to look for him. Xia tilted her head. Sister, Master is asleep. Spring blinked. Sister saw. The sleeping Naruto was very obedient. The two sisters looked at him for a while. Then, they quietly lifted the rattan chair and carefully moved Naruto into the house. Under normal circumstances, Naruto would wake up when someone walked over, let alone being moved away. This was the vigilance of a ninja. However, in front of the two sisters, this vigilance failed for the first time. After moving into the house, they took off their clothes and changed into pajamas. Then they stuffed themselves into the bed. Naruto slept very soundly. Then the two sisters moved the rattan chair back to the roof. The rattan chair was very spacious. It was made according to the shop owner's proportions. Spring and Xia lay on the rattan chair, and held hands as they looked at the stars in the sky. After an unknown amount of time, there was no smile on their faces. Or rather, there was no expression on their faces. Spring, I still don't understand what smile is today. Then let's continue to work hard tomorrow. Naruto didn't know how long the two sisters lay on the rattan chair. When Naruto woke up, there were ironed clothes on the bedside. Beside them were the two letters. Naruto sat up in a daze and looked at the clothes in a daze. Would I fold the clothes so neatly? Obviously not. Then it must have been done by the two sisters. This was a very simple logic. Other than him and the two sisters, the other servants were not allowed to enter the house, unless there was special permission, or it was cleaning day. Today was clearly not cleaning day. But why did they help me tidy up my clothes? By the way, Canon Chiba said that she gave them to me. Then Naruto stretched and got up to wash. He had already prepared breakfast. This was the same even without the letter, so Naruto ate very naturally. While eating, Naruto thought. He always felt that he had forgotten something, and it was a very important thing, very important. What was it? Xia obediently waited on the side, which Naruto was already used to. He once invited the two sisters to sit down and eat together, but he was refused. And Naruto had never seen them eat. They said that they finished eating in the kitchen. At first, Naruto cared about it, but later he got used to it. Master, the shop owner said that he wants you to take care of the ninja store. Are you going to the ninja store today? Naruto was taken aback. Let me take care of the ninja store? When did this happen? Xia. In the letter from Milady. The shop owner said that he won't be back for a while, so the ninja store will be handed over to you. Did she mention it? Naruto used the shadow clone technique, and asked the clone to go to the room to help him get the letter. He read Canon Chiba's letter again, and finally saw the shop owner's words. The shop owner said that it was a joke. Naruto blinked and felt a little uneasy, but he still pretended not to see it, or didn't understand it, and continued to read. As for the shop owner's words of pursuing Canon Chiba, Naruto thought that this sentence was definitely a joke, so he continued to read it while pretending not to see or not to understand it. Finally, he saw the arrangement of the ninja store. Then he pretended to be relaxed and said to Xia, "The shop owner is not here, so you can take care of it." Xia respectfully said, "Yes, master, is there anything else?" Naruto felt that this call of master made him very uneasy. Should he smile foolishly and show his cards? If he changed it back, would his dessert be deducted again? Originally, Naruto had asked for desserts, but there were only 3 or 4 pieces, at most 5 or 6 pieces. If he asked for more, the sisters would say strange things like bad teeth, Naruto added with a nervous mood. Today's dessert also a large portion. Quickly agree. Agree to it. Xia smiled cutely. Yes, master. Phew. Naruto felt that he was finally relieved. As long as the dessert was there, everything else was fake. So Naruto continued to play dumb and happily ate the dessert. However, Naruto still felt that he had forgotten something very important. He couldn't help but ask Nine Tails. Nine Llamas, sensei, I feel like I've forgotten something very important. Do you know what it is? Nine Tails lay on his stomach with a look of enjoyment, smacking his lips from time to time. Through the mental link, he could also sense Naruto's sense of taste. Therefore, when Naruto was enjoying the dessert, he was also enjoying the dessert. Nine Tails smacked his lips as if he was eating and replied, "Something important? Ah, it should be that guy from the 3rd generation promised to give you the 2nd volume of the Ice Escape Secret Technique if you complete the 2nd exam. F***CK. This is a big deal." Naruto stood up. He was about to rush out to find the 3rd generation Naruto. However, Nine Tails stopped him. "What's the rush? Finish the dessert before you leave." Then, Naruto sat down obediently and finished the remaining dessert. After eating, Naruto got up and was about to leave. Nine Tails shouted, "That's it? Why is it gone? You clearly ate a lot yesterday." Quickly asked that little girl for more. Naruto. Chapter 111. Naruto Building, Sandame Naruto's office. Sandame Naruto-sama, I've passed the second exam. Naruto stood in front of Sandame Naruto. Sandame Naruto was sorting out the documents. Well, you did well. Did well. What bullsh asterisk t good performance. From the report sent by the Umbu, Naruto had almost no performance in the second exam. The only outstanding point was his high knowledge of plants, but this only shows that Naruto did his medical ninja homework very well. Sandame Naruto-ma, according to the agreement, shouldn't you give me something? Naruto looked at the skinny old man sitting behind the desk. His heart was in a mess. All kinds of signs indicated that Sandame Naruto seemed to be going back on his word. Sandame Naruto buried his head for a long time, then looked up at Naruto. Naruto, I originally wanted to use the second exam to test your mastery of ice release, and then use it as a judge to consider whether to give this secret technique to you, but you didn't seem to use ice release in the second exam. Because of this? Naruto explained. That's because the trouble I encountered wasn't enough for me to use ice release, and before the official exam, I want to use ice release as a trump card. Sandame Naruto's old face was full of wrinkles. He smiled, and the wrinkles squeezed together, like a blooming chrysanthemum in Naruto's eyes. I can understand your idea, and I agree, then I'll give you the scroll after the official exam. If you advance to Chunin, then I'll give you the scroll. This is really going back on his word. How can this old guy be so shameless? What should I do in the face of such a shameless person? More shameless than him? The flattering smile on Naruto's face gradually disappeared. In any case, he can't wait until after Chunin's exam, because after Chunin's exam, he probably won't be able to see Sandame Naruto again. Sandame Naruto, Sama, you promised me before? Sandame Naruto frowned, showing an unhappy expression. But Naruto didn't care about that and continued. You are Naruto, the leader of the village and the role model of everyone. You are really bad. Also, I'm just a kid. If you don't fulfill your promise, I'm afraid I can't control myself. The third Hokage raised his eyebrows and looked at Naruto curiously. What will you do if I don't give it to you? Naruto grinned. You have a grandson, right? If you don't fulfill your promise, from today onwards, I'll beat your grandson up every time I see him, unless you lock me up. Naruto's facial muscles twitched. This answer really surprised him. You really are a kid. Aren't you afraid that I'll catch you? Naruto stubbornly replied. Catch me? I only have a month before the official exam. If you catch me, I won't have time to train, and when I face Sanin's ninjas, I'll just admit defeat. At that time, there will be a lot of big shots present. Seeing would leave so cowardly, those big shots might reconsider who to give the mission to in the future. Naruto's facial muscles twitched, even his eyelids twitched. He could see that if he didn't give the secret technique to Naruto today, this kid in front of him wouldn't give up. Others might not be able to beat his grandson up, but Naruto definitely dared. After all, this guy even dared to paint Naruto's face. What should he do then? Watch his grandson get beaten up by Tian for a month? Or keep his grandson by his side wherever he goes? Or increase his guard? Or catch Naruto? No matter what, in Naruto's eyes, it was all bullshit. It was still bland and dull. Naruto's old eyes rolled his eyes. He raised his hand and rummaged through the drawer, took out a scroll and threw it over. Here, take it and get out of here. If you don't pass Chunin's exam, see how I'll deal with you. Naruto's face showed a flattering smile again. However, he wasn't in a hurry to leave. He opened the scroll and checked it. The appearance of the scroll and the engraved insignia were all the same as the previous scroll. The scroll was opened. The contents were indeed the advanced training method. Naruto quickly unfolded the scroll until the end. Then he gathered the chakra in his hand and rotated the scrolls. The scrolls that were originally piled up on the ground were gathered again in 3 seconds. Thank you, Sandame Naruto-sama. Then I'll take my leave first. Naruto rearranged the documents and said without raising his head, Get out. Naruto bowed and left. After Naruto left, Naruto felt more and more suffocated. He was actually threatened by a little guy. His fingers tapped on the table, making a clanging sound. No, I can't let this little guy be too proud. Opening the drawer again, Naruto took out a scroll similar in size to the previous one. His hands quickly formed hand seals and cast a technique. Soon, the scroll's appearance changed. It became the same scroll as the secret technique scroll. Come. An Anbu suddenly appeared out of nowhere and knelt on one knee in front of Naruto's desk. Naruto threw the scroll to the Anbu. Change the scroll in Naruto's hand for me. The Anbu ninja caught the scroll steadily. Yes. Then he disappeared from the ninja's office. It was as silent as when he came. The smile on Sandame's face was very bright, and he took out his crystal ball from the drawer. Telescope technique. The target was Naruto. Naruto's face was reflected in the crystal ball. At this time, Naruto was strolling on the top floor of the building. I've already given you the scroll. Don't blame me if you can't keep it. After a few minutes, Naruto's shadow in the crystal ball suddenly twisted, and then made a different movement from Naruto. It was as if he was reaching for his pocket. It was a secret technique of the Nara clan, the shadow stealing technique. While the shadow was stealing Naruto's scroll, in Naruto's body, Ninetales was sealed in the space. Ninetales opened his eyes. Naruto, a little ant wants to steal something from you. Naruto replied. Oh, how did he steal it? Why didn't I feel it? Ninetales replied. He used a unique secret technique to hide in your shadow. Naruto didn't look at his shadow and continued to walk as if there was no one around. In his mind, he communicated with Kyubi. I just came out of the Sandame's place and I've already been robbed. I don't believe that it wasn't the Sandame who sent them. That old man is really stingy. Ninetales wondered. Aren't you going to catch the thief? That thief is about to succeed. Naruto said indifferently. I've memorized the secret technique. If he wants to steal it back, let him. Then the thief succeeded and retreated from Naruto's shadow. However, it also attracted the attention of another person. On the street, a white-haired uncle wearing a red vest and holding a popsicle in his mouth. The uncle watched the shadow run out of Naruto's shadow, and then merge into the shadows of the surrounding buildings. Ah, this technique is a bit interesting. It's a bit like my Toad Kage manipulation. I have to follow and see. Chapter 112. Then the uncle followed him to Naruto's office. Seeing the ninja give the scroll to Sandame Naruto. Then, Sandame Naruto saw Jiraiya hanging upside down outside the window of the ninja building. Jiraiya, if you came a little earlier, you would have seen Naruto. Jiraiya jumped into Naruto's office through the window and wondered. Naruto just left here? Naruto nodded. Thinking of that stinky brat, Sandame Naruto was a little angry. But when he thought that he took back the scroll and made that brat suffer, he couldn't help but feel a little better. Jiraiya looked out of the window. Last night, he came to Naruto's office and learned some things about Naruto from Sandame. He knew that Naruto had golden hair, and that Naruto was going to take the Chunin exam, and his opponent was Sannin's human pillar force. At that time, he had the idea of teaching Naruto. No, not just teaching, he also wanted to accept Naruto as his disciple. After all, Naruto was the child of Minato and Kushina. And the name Naruto was taken from his novel, so he was the one who named Naruto. In his opinion, he and Naruto had an inseparable fate. Then the boy I saw just now was Naruto. I just paid attention to the shadow, Jiraiya muttered, and Sandame Naruto heard a few words and asked, You just met Naruto? Jiraiya replied, Yes, just passed by. Thinking of Naruto, Jiraiya wasn't so curious about the shadow ninjutsu. Now he just wanted to see the little guy. As for what Naruto took from Naruto, it wasn't something he could ask. At the very least, he couldn't ask Naruto about it. Then I'll leave first, sensei, you can continue with your work. Saying that, Jiraiya jumped out of the window and disappeared without waiting for a reply. Sasuke and Kakashi were practicing. Hinata was practicing taijutsu at home. Naruto continued to walk around on the roof, thinking about what he should do. Should he go back to the store manager's house and practice swordsmanship with the Sakura sisters, or practice ice by himself? There's no need to think about getting a new advanced ice release secret technique. The conditions are too harsh in Naruto's eyes. He couldn't meet them yet, so he couldn't practice. Where should I go? I don't know if Haru and Haru are's home or, if it was the latter, then his only choice was to return home and continue practicing ice walk, or practice spiritualization, or, I should steal a panda. even if I don't steal it. I'll just play with it. As soon as this idea appeared, it became more and more uncontrollable. The little bear's meatball appearance was really cute in Naruto's eyes. He believed that Haru and Haru would also like it very much. He saw the store manager's bamboo forest last night. There were a lot of new bamboo shoots, enough for the little bear to eat for a long time. He could also share his own dessert with the little bear. He even thought of a name for the little bear, Rolling. Last time, when he was playing with the panda in the panda tree hole, he pushed the little bear, and the panda rolled on its own. After that, it fell in love with this sport and took the initiative to run in front of Naruto and let Naruto push it. And it was so bored that it kept rolling on the ground, unable to stop at all. It's decided then. After making a decision, Naruto looked around and walked into a fruit store. 5 minutes later, Naruto walked home with a bag of fruit. Another 5 minutes later, an inconspicuous passerby, it went to the forest of death. The entire process was completed in a single breath. It was as natural as flowing water. But he didn't know that the uncle in the red vest was squatting on a high wood leaf at this time. His right hand was blocking the sun, looking like a monkey, looking for traces of him. Then he locked onto his clone and followed it. Jiraiya didn't rush to contact Naruto, but began to secretly observe. It seemed that he wanted to take this opportunity to understand his apprentice. Naruto's clone returned home, put the fruit on the table, and then began to meditate. Seeing this, Jiraiya praised. It seems that he is cultivating, his mind is good. The place where Jiraiya observed was opposite Naruto's house, on the balcony of a house in the distance. An hour passed. Naruto didn't move, and Jiraiya praised again. At such a young age he can endure loneliness and meditate for such a long time. He is a calm child. Then his personality should be like Minato. Another hour passed. Jiraiya yawned. At this time, Jiraiya heard a sound in the room where he was. It should be the owner of the house who came back. Jiraiya looked around. There were several flower pots on the balcony. And then Jiraiya used jutsu to turn it into a flower pot and squeezed it with the other flower pots. At this time, the real Naruto was deep in the forest of death, under the big tree surrounded by the bamboo forest. Unfortunately, Mother Bear was at home today. Her huge body lay under the tree like a fat mountain. Her stomach rose and fell as she breathed. Mother Bear was sleeping very soundly. On Mother Bear's belly, 3 little bear were lying on Mother Bear's belly, sleeping on their backs. It was all so sweet. What a cute family. Naruto's hand couldn't help but reach into his arms and took out a pink mushroom with its feet tied. This mushroom was the one that almost killed Ninji and the others. At this time, the mushroom's head had already grown. Naruto's hand rubbed on it, thinking about whether to pull it off and light it. Then take the opportunity to kidnap a little bear. The little mushroom trembled as Naruto's fingers rubbed. It seemed to have a premonition that something bad was going to happen. Is this considered poaching? Such a beautiful family was really difficult to do. While Naruto was hesitating, a meatball rolled down from Mommy Bear's body, fell on its butt and woke up. Perhaps the meat was too thick. The little bear didn't hurt. It began to climb up, but halfway up, it twitched its nose and turned to look at Naruto. I was discovered. Would the little bear wake up Mother Bear and beat me up? After all, last time, Mother Bear crushed my clone in front of Little Bear. Maybe Mother Bear has already taught Little Bear that I am a bad person. But in fact she didn't. The little bear wriggled to Naruto's front, and put its head on Naruto's head while pulling on Naruto's sleeve. Naruto understood. It wanted him to push it. Naruto looked at the Mother Bear who was sleeping soundly. He raised his hand and pushed the little meatball, and the little meatball rolled away. Then he ran back to the room. Naruto pushed it again, and the little meatball rolled away again. Then it ran back to Naruto. Naruto's eyes lit up and he took a few steps back. The little meatball caught up. Naruto took another step back, and the little meatball rolled away. Then it ran back. Naruto walked out of the forest. Little meatball followed behind him, panting heavily. Little guy, you're the one who wants to follow me. I'm not the one who wants to kidnap you. But don't worry if you miss home, I will bring you back. Naruto picked up the little meatball and rubbed its head. The little meatball closed its eyes and seemed to be very comfortable. Then, Naruto brought the little meatball to the store manager's house. After arriving at the store manager's house, the little meatball was not afraid of strangers and quickly got used to its new home. It was a very green bamboo forest. At this time, it had been 7 or 8 hours since Naruto left Naruto's office. The sky was already dark. Naruto's clone got up from sitting cross-legged, then symbolically went to the kitchen and pretended to eat. Then it went to bed. At this time, Jiraiya was still on the balcony in the form of a flower pot. Chapter 113. At night, Naruto encountered a crisis. Rolling, who he brought back, was good in every aspect. It was not afraid of strangers, friendly and clingy, but it did not eat. Get lost, these are freshly dug bamboo shoots, they're very fresh. Rolling sniffed the bamboo shoots, and just when Naruto thought there was a chance, it turned its head away. Rolling, do you want to try the barbecue? Gun sniffed and then turned its head away in a carefree manner. Rolling, do you want more? Rolling sniffed, and with a look of disgust, it raised its little paw to push away the raw meat that was close at hand. In the end, Natsuya Sakuragi made a reliable suggestion. I think such a small beast should not be weaned. Milk. It made sense. Naruto quickly poured out a basin of milk from the refrigerator, heated it, and then tested the temperature and immediately brought it to Rolling. Rolling sniffed, and this time it sniffed for the longest time. Just when Naruto thought there was a chance, it turned its head away again. Not eating. Natsuya Sakuragi once again told the truth. It seems it doesn't like the taste. It doesn't like milk? Then there is no other milk in the house? Naruto raised his head and subconsciously looked at Natsuya Sakuragi's bulging little chest. Natsuya Sakuragi felt Naruto's gaze, and hurriedly hugged her chest, saying anxiously, I don't have that kind of thing. Naruto instantly blushed. He changed the topic. I think I'd better send Rolling back. It won't be good if it continues to not eat. Natsuya Sakuragi nodded repeatedly. She was afraid that Naruto would feed her to the bear. At night, the sky was already full of stars. The street lights were not on, and the weak lights could only be used to guide the way. Naruto led the little bear stealthily through the night, and soon arrived at the Forest of Death. The Forest of Death was very quiet at night. The strangely shaped bushes and thorns were intertwined and hooked like claws that stretched out from the dark night. The leaves rustled in the wind, and the shadows of the trees swayed. Occasionally, a few ripe fruits would fall from the trees onto the ground. It sounded like footsteps hidden in the night. It was eerie and terrifying. However, the surrounding scene did not scare Naruto or the little bear in his arms. The two of them were bidding each other a reluctant farewell under the moonlight. Rolling, you don't want to go home, do you? Rolling tilted her head and opened her mouth slightly, looking very adorable. Do you want me to bring you back? Other than cow's milk, there's also goat's milk, horse's milk, dog's milk, and pig's milk. Why don't we try them one by one tomorrow? Rolling blinked. Under the moonlight, Rolling's black eyes looked particularly clear and bright. The two of them looked at each other for a long time, and finally, Naruto was defeated. Well, I'll send you home first. I'll take you out to play after you've weaned. Naruto quickened his pace. Hiss! On the branch, a small green snake was slithering on it. It stuck out its tongue at Naruto, raised its head, and then jumped up. However, before it could touch Naruto, it was swept by a cold wind. It was visible to the naked eye that it was frozen into a popsicle from head to toe. Plop! It fell to the ground, still maintaining its jumping posture. Naruto glanced back and muttered, Snakes, toads, everything is too ugly. They can't be compared to Rolling at all. Then he continued on his way. Leaping over the bamboo forest, Naruto came under the big tree. What made him speechless was, Mother Bear, that mountain of meat, was sleeping soundly. She lost her son, and still sleeping soundly. Sure enough, Rolling should have followed me. As if it smelled its mother, Rolling jumped down from Naruto's body, fell on its butt, and then charged at the mother bear. Finally, it hit the mother bear's body, bounced back, and hit again. She pulled the panda onto her snow-white belly and rolled over to squeeze the other little bear down. The little bear seemed very happy. Naruto was secretly sad. The pet he was looking for. However, just as he was about to turn around and leave, Gun ran over to him again. Did Rolling want to go home with him? As a result, he guessed wrong. Rolling pulled him towards the mother bear, and then climbed onto its white belly again. The two little bear who had just climbed up sleepily were knocked down again. Naruto looked at it foolishly. Was it inviting him to lie on the mother bear's belly? The 5-meter-tall giant bear was lying on the ground with a bump of 3 meters. The two little bear who were knocked down grabbed the mother bear's fur sleepily and climbed up again. Then they slept in a row. Rolling pushed the other two little bear outwards, as if leaving the most comfortable position in the middle to Naruto. If it was a normal person, they would never choose to climb onto the belly of the giant bear. Well, Naruto climbed up and lay on the belly. The mother bear seemed to feel that the weight was not right, and she opened her eyes in a daze. Transformation. Bang. Naruto became the second Rolling. Mother bear glanced at him with her slightly opened eyes, and then went back to sleep peacefully. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Her snow-white belly was expanding and contracting rhythmically. Naruto and the other 3 little bear lay down neatly in a row, and fell asleep. That night, Naruto did not return to the store manager's house. Instead, he pretended to be a little bear, and slept on the mother bear's belly for the whole night. The next day, when Mother Bear woke up, the 3 little bear fell to the ground like dumplings. Perhaps it was because it was too comfortable. Naruto was still sleeping, and chakra subconsciously spread out of her body and stuck to Mother Bear's belly. Mother Bear looked at this extra child with a little confusion. Do I have 4 babies? Mother Bear lowered her head and sniffed. Naruto slept on Mother Bear's belly for the whole night, and his body was already covered with the smell of sunshine and fluff. Mother Bear felt that it was her son's smell, so she ignored it. Naruto slept very comfortably, and he didn't wake up until the sun was high in the sky. At the same time, he received several messages in his head. Original body, my chakra can last for 2 more hours. Original body, my chakra can last for 1 more hour. Original body, my chakra can last for less than half an hour. Original body, you didn't die, right? Original body, you will lose me forever in 5 more minutes. Original body, I look forward to seeing you again. Beep? Lee beep. This was an order Naruto gave to his doppelganger. When chakra was about to be exhausted, he would use multiple shadows to inform him. Then the doppelganger sat at home for a whole day and lay down for a whole night. Naruto looked up at the sky. It's over. I overslept. I won't be exposed, right? Konoha's surveillance of him was always there. Naruto could imagine how many people were shocked when his doppelganger disappeared with a bang. But maybe things weren't that bad. As long as his figure was still in wood leaf, there wouldn't be much of a problem. In other words, he had to appear in their sight as soon as possible. Naruto guessed one thing right. The moment his doppelganger exploded, Jiraiya's heart almost exploded with it. It even scared Jiraiya's transformation jutsu. There were also a few flower pots next to him. Coincidentally, the flower pots next to him were transformed from Umbu ninjas. When Jiraiya looked at the Umbu ninja with a confused face, the Umbu ninja scratched his head embarrassedly, and then slipped away. Several Umbu ninjas' hearts collapsed at this time. Because Jiraiya was around, they didn't go to the bathroom all night. Watching the Umbu ninjas leave, Jiraiya fell into deep thought. When did Naruto leave his sight? He didn't even notice. And why were these Umbu ninjas monitoring Naruto? Because Orochimaru? He already knew from Sandaime that Orochimaru was in Woodleaf. He didn't want to care about Orochimaru. He didn't come back for Orochimaru. It was Naruto. Chapter 114. For the sake of safety, this time Naruto did not send a clone home to replace him. Instead, he came back personally. 9 llamas, sensei, can you sense how many people are watching me outside? Kyubi was lazily lying in the cage. After returning home, he didn't have any delicious snacks, so he couldn't help but reply listlessly. Unless the chakra is spread out, the specific amount can't be determined. Then he raised his eyelids. You seem to have asked this question before, right? Did I ask? I seem to have asked. Naruto felt that he was very bored now. He took out the mushroom with its leg tied from his pocket. He inserted it into the soft soil on the windowsill in the flower pot. The little mushroom felt a sense of relief when its foot was inserted into the soil. Its body also stopped trembling, but to be honest, it was very uncomfortable with its foot tied. It struggled a little a few times, then gave up and quieted down. Naruto looked at the mushroom in the flower pot and wondered if he should make all the Umbu ninjas outside faint. No, that would be too high profile. But a slight poison doesn't seem to be a problem, right? For example, faking an allergic reaction, or a bad stomach, or a year and a half. Thinking of this, the smile on Naruto's face became more sincere. His left hand pressed on the wrist guard on his right hand. It was a storage ninja with the word medicine written on it. Naruto also had such a storage ninja with the word sword written on it on his left hand. It stored the green sleeve sword. Naruto's left hand pressed on the wrist guard on his right hand, and then a few bottles and jars appeared in his hand. They were all processed and ground into powder, but they had not been concocted. After more than 10 minutes, Naruto concocted a small bottle of yellow powder that looked very much like pollen. The first attack, itching medicine. Effect: causes an allergic reaction to the body, causing itching all over the body. The degree of itching depends on the condition of the poison. Beast clone technique. Bang, bang, bang. 50 rats appeared on the floor of Naruto's room. The so-called beast clone technique was a combination of Naruto's shadow clone technique and transformation jutsu. Originally, there were two procedures. First, create a clone, and then use the transformation technique. Later, Naruto combined the usage of the post-G technique and successfully integrated the transformation technique into his multiple shadow clone technique. Now, not only could he imitate beasts, but he could also imitate objects. It meant that the clone would turn into an object that Naruto knew. Of course, it was impossible to imitate its function. It was only similar in appearance. However, Naruto had recently been researching how to create a usable refrigerator. His initial idea was to use the ice element chakra to provide cooling. As for the use of turning into a refrigerator, maybe one day he would be so bored that he would sell his homemade ice cream on the streets. Who knows? Naruto poured the yellow powder, which looked like pollen, onto the paper and instructed the rats on the ground, one mouthful each. One of the rats stood up with its front paws off the ground and corrected. It's one rat, one bite. He had been ridiculed by his own clone. Naruto said sarcastically, "Rats can't talk, so shut up." The doppelganger said indignantly, "We are ninja rats." Ninja mouse? Endure your face. Naruto frowned. He found that his doppelganger seemed to be getting smarter and smarter, and sometimes they even had distinct personalities. For example, when he was angry, the doppelganger had a fiery temper. When he was calm, the doppelganger would be very stable. When he was courting death, the doppelganger would be very funny. Just like now, drugging the Umbu was definitely courting death. Therefore, in Naruto's opinion, this batch of doppelganger was a little funny. Nine Llamas Sensei, are other people's doppelganger like this too? Nine Tails asked. What do you think? Naruto replied seriously. I feel that my doppelganger is very abnormal. It seems to be getting smarter and smarter recently. It seems to be able to think on its own. Well, it feels like it has become a spirit. Nine Tails yawned and said. That's because your soul power has become purer and purer recently. To put it simply, your soul has become stronger, and the spiritual power it produces has also strengthened. 20 fat rats the size of half a palm stuffed all the powder on the paper into their mouths. Then, they lined up neatly and waited for Naruto's order. It was the kind that stood with its claws raised. Stand properly. Therefore they looked funny. A group of rats that have become spirits. Naruto was still communicating with Nine Tails. You said that my soul power has strengthened again? But I haven't fused with a new soul recently? Nine Tails didn't want to explain. He hesitated for a moment, but still said, It's the mark on your forehead that has been affecting your soul. The mark on his forehead. Naruto touched his head. He definitely didn't have a forehead in the real world. His consciousness sank into Nine Tails' sealed space. Naruto touched his head. It was a 5-pointed star with 2 sharp horns wrapped in golden patterns. There was also a circle outside. It looked like a 5-pointed star array. This thing appeared after Naruto fused with Icebreak last time. According to Naruto's guess, if he fused with other attributes, Chakra's nature would change. This thing should also change. But later, because of some things, he promised not to fuse with other attributes before he became proficient in using Icebreak. Let's not worry about it for now. Teacher 9 Llamas, although you can't clearly perceive how many people are outside, you can vaguely feel which direction someone is monitoring here, right? Naruto's eyes lit up with little stars of expectation again. He wanted to use Ninetales' perception to drug the people hiding in the dark. Ninetales, yes. After getting a positive answer from Ninetales, Naruto's consciousness withdrew from Ninetales' sealed space. Ninetales suggested, "Open the first of the 8 gates. This way, the perception transmitted to me through your body will be more sensitive." The first gate of the 8 gates, open. Teacher 9 Llamas, right? When the first gate of the 8 gates was opened, there was nothing unusual on the surface. But if one looked carefully, they would find that the color of the pupils had deepened, and the expansion and contraction of the pupils had become more sensitive. Ninetales commanded, "Inject your chakra into the seal." In Ninetales' sealed space, Naruto's chakra poured into Ninetales' cage. Ninetales raised his paw and pressed it on it. Then Naruto felt his body suddenly stiffen, as if it was out of control. "Teacher 9 Llamas, what's going on?" Ninetales calmly replied, "Just like you can control my chakra, I'm now controlling your chakra. My thoughts will affect your body. As long as I want to, I can control your body. Of course, you can also resist. That way, whoever has stronger spiritual power will gain control of the body." The truth? The first half of the sentence. There was one sentence that Ninetales didn't say. Because of the 8 trigram seal, he could only control Naruto's body when Naruto allowed him to. As long as Naruto resisted, his thoughts would be suppressed in the seal. This matter was very embarrassing for Ninetales, so he didn't tell Naruto. Naruto's eyes turned into the same demon fox's vertical pupils as Ninetales, and he looked at the opposite person's flower pot. "Ninetales, that flower pot is very suspicious. There's chakra's fluctuation. It should be a ninja." Naruto ordered the 2 mice standing on the far left, "Go around to the roof of the opposite building, and then climb down the sewer pipe from above. Do you notice the hole on the higher floor? Then come out from that hole, and go to the balcony on the opposite side. During this period, pay attention to the direction of the wind, find a good opportunity, then release the clone, and spray the pollen in the body around." The silly mouse listened carefully to Naruto's orders, and its small head nodded, with an expression of "I already understand." Finally, it saluted Naruto and said seriously, "I promise to complete the task." Then the 2 of them squeezed out through the finger-wide gap under the door. The scene looked interesting. The head squeezed in first, and the short legs kicked behind. The hairy buttocks twisted and turned. Pop! They squeezed out. At this time, on the opposite balcony, Jiraiya, who turned into a flower pot, observed Naruto while lazily basking in the sun. This time, there was only one big flower pot on the balcony, and several other Umbu ninjas should have chosen other places to secretly monitor. Through the window, Jiraiya didn't see the little mice on the ground. He only saw Naruto holding bottles and cans. This scene reminded him of Tsunade. When he peeped at Tsunade, he also saw this scene. What happened later? Later, Tsunade seemed to have gone to take a bath, but then he didn't know why he fell seriously ill, and he lay in bed for a week. Jiraiya guessed that he must have caught a cold. After all, it was winter. But not now, the sun was very warm today. Chapter 115. Tap tap tap. The 2 little guys crawled all the way out of Naruto's house. After they went downstairs, the one behind suddenly stepped on the tail of the one in front. Squeak. The fat mouse in front turned around. Although it was called a mouse, it actually looked more like a hamster. It had beige hair, and its fat face was bulging. Little Ya blinked. It was cute, Squeak. The mouse in the back gestured behind it. Behind the 2 mice, a woman was pushing a small truck. Squeak. The one in front had a puzzled face. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The serious face behind raised its hand and gestured. It pointed at the two of them, and then at the small truck. The eyes of the two little guys lit up at the same time. Then, they raised their front paws and clenched them into fists. Then the two little guys got into the small truck. The small truck was slowly pushed across the street. The two little guys who hitched a ride slipped into the shadows of the wall. Then, they climbed all the way to the roof. When they reached the rooftop, they followed Naruto's instructions and went into the sewer. Slurp slippery. They reached the opening and jumped out. At this time, the two mice were located on the upper floor of the balcony where Jiraiya was. They quietly approached. One of the mice raised its hand and stood upright to feel the direction of the wind. Then, it gestured to change position and occupy the wind. Squeak squeak. Squeak. The two mice high-fived in celebration and dispelled the mimic beast's clone. Boom. Yellow smoke spread very faintly, drifting with the wind. However, it was enough to sprinkle on the flower pot. Jiraiya wrinkled his nose and suddenly felt like sneezing. But now that Naruto was standing in front of him, he had to endure. The two mice succeeded. The whole process was witnessed by Naruto. He said to Ninetales in his heart, "My clone might have really become a spirit." Ninetales was also speechless. A clone with spirituality. He had an absurd guess in his heart. One day, Naruto's clone would evolve into an existence like him, the so-called Bijou. Absurd. The more he thought about it, the more absurd it was. But all signs indicated that it was not impossible. Things were developing in that direction. What was that mark on this kid's head? Ninetales thought of the claw that came out of Naruto's body. Chakra had ignored the 8 trigrams seal and devoured almost half of his body. Fortunately, his body had recovered, but that memory still made his hair stand on end. Ninetales had some ideas when he thought about how he could recover. Perhaps Naruto hadn't been devouring souls, but soul power? Or was it just spiritual power? Chakra? He wouldn't tell Naruto about this for now. He would observe for a while. Anyway, there was still some time before Naruto could truly master Ice Escape. Ninetales felt that he still had a lot of time when he thought of the secret technique recorded in the high-level scroll. Success. Teacher 9th Llamas. Look for the next one. They found a total of 8 people, some near and some far away. 20 mice set off one after another. After the mice left, Naruto frowned and raised his hand to draw on the paper. It was a simple map of the nearby area, with only 2 or 3 strokes, simple and intuitive. Then he marked the positions of the 8 people. A group of 3. Naruto speculated that it was the Umbu arranged by Sandame Naruto. After all, only Sandame Naruto could transfer so many Umbu ninjas. A group of 2. The specific source was unknown. 3 groups of people. One was the flower pot opposite. One was the silly bird that stood on the telephone pole for half an hour without moving. And one a wildflower that stood proudly in the wind. A total of 8 ninjas. In Naruto's view, these people couldn't have been sent by Sandame Naruto. Even if he was the human pillar force, it was too extravagant. Then with Sandame Naruto's ability, 80% of these people should be from Sandame. Therefore, Naruto set the group with the largest number of people as Sandame Naruto's people. There was also a group of 2. In Woodleaf, besides Sandame, who was interested in him. Danzo. Naruto set the probability at 60%. After all, since the Uchiha clan was destroyed, Danzo was removed from the Umbu position. It was reasonable to say that he shouldn't have sent people so blatantly. But for people like Danzo, Sandame Naruto's verbal dismissal order obviously wouldn't have much effect. That order was at best to calm the hearts of the other clans in Woodleaf. After all, there is no such thing as a secret in the world. Danzo's actions against the Uchiha clan will be received by the other clans. Therefore, Sandame Naruto removed Danzo's position, just to tell the other clans that the Uchiha clan will not happen again. There were 3 people. Where did these 3 people come from? Sannin's ninjas were still living in Woodleaf's post house. Even if they didn't know that Naruto was the Ninetales human pillar force in Woodleaf, after coming to Woodleaf, they can casually ask around. No, even if they don't ask around, they can get some information about him just by listening to the gossip of the women. Moreover, it's impossible that Sannin didn't know that he was the Ninetales human pillar force. Because Woodleaf wanted to let others know. Naruto guessed that at least one of them was Sannin's people. There were two more people. Naruto looked at the opposite side. Huh. The flower pot is gone. The flower pot was already gone when Naruto began to draw the map. At this time the flower pot was squatting in the corner and sneezing. A flower pot sneezing. This scene was actually quite comical. Asterisk boom. Asterisk after a few sneezes, Jiraiya couldn't hold back anymore and sneezed out of his transformation technique. Jiraiya, who was squatting in the corner, rubbed his nose. After a while he finally stopped sneezing. His whole body began to itch, and red bumps appeared on his body. Am I poisoned? After all, Jiraiya was an experienced veteran. He immediately guessed that he was poisoned and hurried to the hospital. It was quite convenient for him to go to the hospital while he was in Woodleaf. The test results quickly came out. He was allergic to pollen. So he prescribed some medicine for pollen allergy, but it had little effect. At the same time, Naruto began to think about his second round of attacks. With the rotten grass he could create something that could cause diarrhea. What would happen if he sneezed and had diarrhea? Naruto blinked, and his eyes suddenly lit up with a fiery light. It would be fine if he could go to the bathroom in time. But if he couldn't, roar, roar. He was afraid that he would sneeze all over his pants. I'm a genius. Naruto praised himself sincerely. Then he started to deal with his bottles and jars. The Umbu ninjas outside had no idea what they were about to face. After solving or restraining the urge to sneeze with various secret medicines, they continued to diligently guard the front line. Jiraiya was on his way back. He was thinking about whether he should continue to observe or take the initiative to find Naruto and start training. There were also those who were secretly monitoring Naruto. While Jiraiya was observing Naruto, he was also observing these people. Since they haven't done anything substantial at the moment, I won't deal with them. With Jiraiya's eyesight, he could naturally tell that these people were not all sent by Sandame Naruto. Jiraiya opened his mouth and wanted to sneeze, but he forced himself to hold back. A small sneeze was nothing for the great toad sage Jiraiya. Chapter 116. Visit him directly? That would be too degrading. Although he was definitely going to accept Naruto as his disciple, but it should be Naruto who took the initiative to ask him. Then he reluctantly agreed. In order to show his arrogance, it would be best to set up some postgraduate exams. Jiraiya stopped and made a decision. He would continue to wait outside. When Naruto came out, he would create a coincidence and find a suitable time to prove his strength and lure Naruto into the trap. Yes, he couldn't take the initiative. He was the great toad sage Jiraiya of Mount Myaboku. Then, should he continue to turn into a flower pot? Jiraiya resisted the urge to sneeze. He didn't want to mention anything related to flowers. Damn pollen allergy. He didn't have this problem in the past. Didn't have this problem? If Naruto knew about Jiraiya's problem, he would laugh and say, because it's not pollen allergy at all. It's just an imitation of pollen allergy. Therefore, it's useless to take the medicine you prescribed. Oh. Roar. 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 9 Llamas, sensei, help me determine the enemy's position again. Ninetails saw Naruto fiddling for a long time and asked curiously, what's the effect of the stuff you're fiddling with this time? Naruto replied proudly, enhanced version of itching medicine. After using it, I can't stop sneezing anymore. My sneezing is getting louder and louder. With the enhanced version of laxatives, I don't even have to stand up when I have diarrhea. Ninetails pondered for a moment and asked, is sneezing to make them expose their position? What about diarrhea? Is it just a prank? Naruto smiled mysteriously and said, no, you'll soon know the magical effect of mixing these two medicines together. I named it Blue Sky Underworld. Well, this is the elegant version of the name, commonly known as Spray Pants Pocket. Ninetails still didn't quite understand. Naruto said, Beast Clone. Bang, bang, bang. A series of 16 hamsters appeared. The 16 hamsters consciously stood in a neat row. This time, the medicine was not a powder, but a small pill the size of a pinky fingertip. The strange thing was that whenever a hamster ate the pill, its body would turn golden. Naruto nodded with satisfaction. knowing that the medicine had worked. This time, he deliberately added a substance that would spread the medicine into chakra. This way, when the pill entered the body, it would automatically disintegrate and spread to the body. When the clone was removed, the spread effect would be more ideal. Hashiman Tanku, the first gate, open. The color of Naruto's blue pupils deepened to dark blue. 9 Lamas Sensei. 9 tails to put. 9 to us to the point. 9 to this to put. Immediately afterward, Naruto's pupils narrowed and elongated, turning into Kyuubi's vertical pupils. But the color was still dark blue. With 9 tails, it was too easy to find the people hiding in the dark. But this time, only 7 were found. Could it be that someone had retreated in the face of difficulties? Naruto entered the memory, pulled out the memory a few minutes ago, and compared the scene in front of him with the memory. This was to be safe. Finally, Naruto's gaze fell on the toad sculpture on the street lamp. There was no such thing on the lamppost in the memory. This meant that it was a ninja's transformation. Interesting. Even Ninetales couldn't detect the transformation technique. In order not to alert the other party, Naruto didn't stare at the toad. He squatted down, took out 2 more pills, and stuffed them into the hamsters' mouths. Suddenly, the hamster's fur became even more golden. Your mission is the toad on the lamppost. As for the battle plan, Beast clone. Bang. This time a pigeon appeared. Okay, you 2 little guys can turn into pigeon poop. Then little pigeon, you have to land on the toad and poop the golden pigeon poop on the toad. Ninetales heard Naruto's words and asked curiously, will we be discovered? Naruto smiled and said, we'll definitely be discovered, but so what? They won't be embarrassed to say it. It'll be embarrassing if other people know that an elite of the Dark Unit was tricked by a genin like me. Besides, today's experience will become a nightmare for all of them. Ninetales was curious about Naruto's plan. He thought that sneezing and having diarrhea were insignificant things that wouldn't become a nightmare, right? Ninetales asked, what about revenge? Naruto said confidently, if you want to take revenge on me, you have to be able to distinguish between my clone and my real body first. Besides, even if there's someone powerful, there's still Ninetales. Ninetales was speechless. However, after thinking about it, he felt that Naruto's words were not wrong. With him around, there was no need to worry. Naruto turned to the hamster team and said, are you clear about your mission? The 16 hamsters formed groups of 2 and saluted in unison. We'll complete the mission. 2 hamsters transformed into 2 lumps of golden pigeon poop. The pigeons squatted down and waited for the 2 special passengers to board. As for the other mice, they crawled out of the door. When the pigeon team finished boarding, Naruto carried the pigeon and opened the door to send it to the corridor. Although the pigeon should be able to squeeze out, Naruto was afraid that it would explode in his house due to its large size. That wouldn't be fun as Naruto hadn't had the time to develop an antidote. After the secret agent team set off, Naruto closed the doors and windows of his house tightly. Even the ventilation fan in the toilet was turned off. He carefully checked the place a few times. By the way, Teacher 9 Llamas, if you control my body, can you establish a mental link with my clones? After finding the clones, Ninetales returned control of the body to Naruto. He was lazily counting the number of hairs on his claws. He casually replied, yes, I can. Naruto was overjoyed. Do I need to summon them back? Ninetales yawned and said, no need. They're clones of chakra. It's easy to contact them, but why should I help you? Without waiting for Naruto's reply, he muttered to himself, I can help you. After dealing with these guys, I'll find the 2 girls. I want to eat their desserts. Desserts? Naruto said that he also wanted to eat it. Sure. Ninetales smiled and said, 100. Naruto's vision turned black. Naruto admitted that he liked desserts very much. However, he only ate 10 in the morning, 10 in the afternoon, 10 in the evening, and another 10 in the middle of the night before going to bed. 4 tens added up to 40. That doesn't seem like a lot. Did I eat that much? However, even if Naruto really liked desserts, it was impossible for him to eat 100 of them in a row. He would become as fat as Dingji if he did. Naruto said seriously. I'll definitely go back. There will be desserts, but that's not the point. The point is, aren't you curious about what will happen to them after I drug them? If you establish a mental link with your clones, we can watch a live broadcast. Ninetales looked up and asked curiously. What's there to be curious about? Isn't it just sneezing and diarrhea? Naruto said seriously. No. It's definitely not as simple as diarrhea and sneezing. Believe me, it's much more interesting than that. Ninetales pondered for a moment and said, then reduce it to 50 desserts. If you don't like it, you'll have to eat 100 desserts to compensate me. 50 in one breath. That was too much. 10, 40, 20, 30. 30? What if he got tired of eating too many at once? Naruto shook his head firmly and said, 20 it is. Ninetales hesitated for a long time before revealing his final bottom line. 25. I can't go any lower or I won't do it. Okay. Chapter 117. Ninetales controlled Naruto to establish a spiritual link with the doppelganger. 19 more pictures appeared in front of Naruto's eyes. It was a strange feeling. It was like sitting alone in a monitoring room. But it was different because people in the monitoring room could only see one picture clearly, or 2 or 3 pictures next to each other, no more than that. But spiritual sharing could see all the pictures at the same time. Ninetales. It's done, but I can't go back if I want to maintain this link. Naruto looked at the toad outside the window and replied, okay, let's maintain it like this, let's watch the show first. In the spiritual sharing vision, the pigeon had already flown out of the corridor. It rose into the sky and flew over the black metal toad, on the lamppost. Then it landed steadily. Because this toad was a guy that even Ninetales didn't notice, Naruto was very interested in it. Would it dodge? If it dodged, then let the doppelganger dispel it in advance, so that the powder could also be sprinkled on it. The pigeon was getting closer and closer to the toad. The toad was very immersed in the act and didn't move. 2 golden pigeon feces fell on the toad's back and head, and then the doppelganger dispelled it. Bang! The golden powder spread, and the black toad turned into a golden toad in an instant. It's done. The golden toad didn't move for 5 seconds, and its face was trembling in the 6th second. 7 seconds. 8 seconds. Finally, the toad couldn't stand it anymore and sneezed. Bang! The palm-sized golden toad sneezed and turned into a person. A head of white needle-like hair draped over his back. A red vest, and a forehead protector with the word oil on his head. At this time, the man was still standing on the lamppost, his face was red, and he sneezed again and again. Naruto stood in front of the window and looked at this scene in a daze. He couldn't believe it and cursed. Fuck. Jiraiya. The toad transformation that even Ninetales couldn't detect. Naruto blinked and murmured. I should have known it was him. Calculating the time. According to the development of the original world, before Chunin's official exam, wasn't it the time when Jiraiya returned to the village to accept Naruto as his disciple? I've gone too far this time, but it was so exciting. At the same time, the other doppelgangers also found their targets. They dispelled the doppelgangers and spat out the golden powder. The mental links were also broken one by one. Ninetales was puzzled. That's it. It's not fun at all. Naruto replied. Teacher Ninth Lamas, please don't be impatient. This is just the beginning. I was just experiencing the mental link. As he spoke, Naruto raised his hand. Beast clone technique. Bang bang bang. A large flock of pigeons appeared in Naruto's house. Teacher Nine Lamas, share your spirit with these pigeons. Ninetales wanted to go on strike, but for the sake of dessert he reluctantly did it. Outside Naruto's room, the sound of sneezing came one after another. Even a fool could tell that something was wrong. This was also the reason why Naruto didn't hide it, because there was no need to hide it. Boss, we've been tricked. Achoo. Achoo. If you don't say it. Achoo. I know it too. Retreat first. Achoo. The ninja called Boss just took a step forward. Rumble. This was the sound of the stomach. Then the stomachs of the 2 people next to him also rumbled. Stomachache. For ninjas, Even if a knife was inserted into their body, they wouldn't frown. They could endure this kind of pain. But it was getting more and more painful. Everyone was familiar with this kind of pain. They had a collective stomachache. The ninja called Boss spoke first. I'll go to the toilet first. Then he directly used the body flicker technique and rushed to the nearby public toilet. Boss, wait for me. And me. The white pigeons flew in the sky, one by one, followed by another. Looking at the picture from the shared vision, Ninetails frowned deeper and deeper. I saw the sneezing and stomachache, but I still didn't find anything interesting. Naruto wasn't in a hurry. He smiled and said, keep watching. At this time, Naruto was focused on looking at Jiraiya, who was wearing a red vest. Jiraiya stood on the side of the road, under the lamppost. Rumble. His stomach growled. Jiraiya didn't move. Rumble. Jiraiya's head trembled and tilted to the side. Hold it, I'm Jiraiya, the Toad Sage of Mount Mayaboku. How can a little stomachache make me yield? Rumble. Jiraiya's whole body trembled. Then his chrysanthemum loosened, and he couldn't help but let out a loud fart. After the fart, Jiraiya suddenly felt that his stomach didn't hurt so much. Jiraiya was relieved. It seemed that he succeeded in enduring it. Like I said, a little stomachache is nothing to me. Just when Jiraiya relaxed, his nose itched and he sneezed. Achoo. Followed by a loud fart. Bang. Then his nose itched even more. Jiraiya covered his mouth and forced himself to hold back a sneeze. Rumble. The pain in his stomach made Jiraiya's face begin to sweat. Woo, Jiraiya curled up, squatted on the ground and whispered. Don't let me know who drugged me otherwise. Rumble. At the same time his nose itched again. Jiraiya held his breath vigilantly. After holding back another sneeze, he jumped up and ran to the open beta. I can't hold it anymore. I need to go to the toilet. Jiraiya ran wildly. But maybe it was because he had been holding it in for too long. Every few steps he took, he would make a bu sound. It seemed to have its own background music. A pigeon flew up and followed closely behind. A stone flew out of Jiraiya's hand and instantly killed the pigeon. But just as he took 2 steps, another pigeon appeared behind him. Flutter, flutter. Another pigeon appeared behind him. Jiraiya stared at the pigeon and was about to pick up the stone again. Rumble. The pain in his stomach made his whole body go limp. Wait for me to come out. He turned around and went into the toilet. At this time, 2 rows of pigeons stood neatly outside the toilet, glancing through the window from time to time. One of the pigeons looked for a long time and felt that the frosted glass above was an eyesore, so it raised its beak and fiercely pecked on it a few times. Crash! The glass broke, and the scene inside was visible. In the toilet, Jiraiya raised his hand to pull the door open, but it didn't open. Someone's there? He changed to the next one, but he didn't open it. He changed again. There were a total of 6 single rooms, and each one was tightly locked. Rumble. Jiraiya felt that he was about to lose all hope. He raised his hand and smashed one of the doors. Inside. Hurry up. Hurry. He heard a fart like a cannon inside. Bang. Then it was the next one. Bang. Then there were a few consecutive bang. 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 It was like a gun salute. The toilet was suddenly filled with a stench. Jiraiya felt that his stomach hurt even more. What to do? What to do? At this critical moment, Jiraiya looked at the opposite side. The female toilet. Jiraiya's forehead was sweating. I was forced. I really didn't want to go in there. Chapter 118. Jiraiya looked at the opposite side, as if he could see something through the wall. He hadn't moved yet, but his face was already red, and it was still heating up. Gugugu. Outside the broken window, a snow-white pigeon tilted its head. Naruto caught Jiraiya's gaze looking at the women's washroom. Jiraiya, this shameless guy, don't tell me he wants to go to the women's washroom? Naruto thought, raised his hand and touched his chin and said with emotion. I didn't expect a prank to rise to a test of human nature. Ninetails seemed to be interested. He was curious whether the ninja would go to the women's washroom. Although he was a fox, he knew that in human civilization, going to the opposite sex's washroom was a bad thing. At this time, Naruto clenched his right fist and put it on his left palm. Boom. As if he had made a decision. He said to himself, "But do you think you can escape the punishment of Blue Sky Underworld by being shameless? You're too naive." Multiple shadow clone jutsu. Bang. A Naruto clone appeared beside Naruto. Naruto said to the clone, "Pigeons number 2 to 12, listen to my order. Occupy the women's washroom, turn into a girl, and lock the washroom door from the inside." The clone received the order and removed itself. For a time, Naruto's order was passed to all the clones at the same time. Ninetales was shocked by this scene and complained, "You're going to the women's washroom, right? What about the test of human nature? You went in first. Do you want to prove that you're completely inhuman?" Naruto said with a serious face, "No, I'm enduring humiliation for the sake of righteousness, sacrificing myself, full of the glory of human nature." What F asterisk king suffering humiliation? What F asterisk king righteousness? What F asterisk king self-sacrifice? What F asterisk king radiance of humanity? Kyuubi's face darkened. Facing Naruto, whose face was even thicker than Shikaka's defense, he didn't know what to say. However, he still felt that he should say something, so he said, "Then you don't have to use your clone to transmit the command. Under the mental link, you can communicate directly with your clone by talking to me." Naruto blinked. "Oh, I forgot. In the toilet." Jiraiya's face was getting redder and redder, and he was still wondering if he should go to the women's room. At this time, the pigeons at the door had already formed a line and had successfully sneaked into the ladies' room. Naruto reminded them through the mental link, "Be careful. Sneak in quietly. It'll be bad if you're seen." The doppelganger, who had successfully occupied an empty spot, replied, "Number 2 in position. Then, number 3 in position. Number 4 in position. Number 7 in position. Number 8 in position. Number 12 in position." Then he pressed his left claw against his right claw and used the transformation technique. Bang! The first one was Sakura Haruno. Bang! The second one was Ino. Bang! The third one was Tian Tian. Bang! The fourth one was Hinata. Bang! The fifth one, there was no such person. The appearance was Shaoli, but there were 2 more breasts. Why did this happen? Perhaps it was because Naruto knew too few women, or perhaps it was because Naruto had said that when he wanted to die, all his clones were idiots. Bang! The fifth one, a long-chested female version of Kakashi, so dirty. Bang! The sixth one, a long-chested female version of Sasuke. This was good. Bang! The seventh one, a long-chested female version of Hinata Ninjisari brother-in-law. Bang! The eighth one, a long-chested female version of Iruka. Iruka-sensei, this wasn't my intention really. Bang! The ninth one, a long-chested female version of Ibiki. The scars on her face were so handsome. Bang! The 10th one, a long-chested female version of Red Bean Mitarai. She was a girl to begin with, right? Bang! The 11th one, a long-chested female version of Naruto Sandame. Naruto spat out blood, but he didn't expect there to be something even more extreme. Bang! The 12th one, a long-chested female version of Jiraiya. If Jiraiya saw this, the green clothes, the red vest, the white hair that reached her waist, who knew what he would feel? But he was certain that he would be thunderstruck. The clone transformation ended. Clack clack. He locked the door. Over at the men's room, Jiraiya suppressed his evil thoughts and knocked on the closed door, urging, "Hurry up! Help!" The person inside wanted to speak, but the moment he opened his mouth, it turned into a sneeze. At the same time, there was the sound of gunfire. "Are you still going to speak? Not even if you beat me to death." The ninja covered his mouth tightly, but sometimes sneezing was contagious, especially when you wanted to sneeze. For a moment, the toilet was filled with the sound of sneezing and gunfire. Under the influence of such an atmosphere, Jiraiya was somewhat unable to control himself. But logic told him that he absolutely couldn't sneeze at this time. It would be fine if he farted, but if he sneezed, Jiraiya covered his mouth tightly, and his face turned purple. He no longer hesitated in this moment of crisis. He rushed out of the men's room. He dashed through the washroom area at lightning speed and rushed towards the door with the word female written on it. No one. There was hope. Jiraiya lifted his hand to open the first door. It was locked, and someone was inside. Jiraiya broke out in a cold sweat. Then he hurriedly opened the second door. There were still people inside. God of ninjas bless. Please don't come out at this time. And then the third door. There were people inside. Jiraiya felt like he was about to lose all hope. The fourth door, the fifth door, the sixth door. The 12th door. There were people inside all of them. Naruto was laughing so hard that he was cramping up. But his conversation with Nine Tails was through mental link, so he wasn't affected. Nine Llamas, sensei. What do you think would happen if a door suddenly opened at this time? Nine Tails grinned without laughing, but his silent laughter was even more perverted. It would definitely be fun. I'll do it this time. With that, Nine Tails gave an order to one of his clones, and the door opened normally. Jiraiya would have used his ability to disappear when someone came out. But now, every step he took was accompanied by BGM. He was afraid that something bad would happen if he used too much force. So he had an idea. Transformation Jutsu. Asterisk boom. Asterisk Jiraiya turned into Tsunade. It was a completely subconscious choice. After transforming, Jiraiya felt that this wasn't a good idea. This was Wood Leaf. If he was recognized, but it was too late to change. The person inside the door walked out. It was the female version of Jiraiya, who had transformed into Tsunade, was petrified. Her white, fluffy hair hung down to her waist. It looked very soft, small crystal feet wearing clogs. Very sexy green clothes, red vest. Very fashionable. Also, the raging waves in front of her chest. Oval face. Big eyes. This beautiful girl is dressed the same as me. Could it be that she's my fan? No. She has the same white hair as me. She looks like me. Could it be that I have a younger sister? Jiraiya was confused and couldn't help but sneeze. Asterisk achoo. Asterisk then. It was accompanied by an earth-shattering sound. Asterisk boom. Asterisk extreme despair. At the same time, a ninja was silently washing his pants by a stream outside Wood Leaf. This was the 8th person who didn't get a spot. It wasn't clear if he didn't get one, or if the process was already over. Or maybe he was a righteous person who would rather wash his pants than go to the ladies' room. But his expression wasn't righteous at all. It could be said that his face was ferocious as he said fiercely, I will definitely find out who drugged me. Achoo. Wait for me. Achoo. Find out. You'll die. Achoo. Go. Chapter 120. The moment Jiraiya was hit, Naruto laughed crazily, hugging his stomach and curling up on the ground for a long time. Nine Tails was tense for a few seconds because of the bet, but then he also fell under the influence of Naruto. The agreement between the two was reached. Naruto had to pay 25 desserts for Nine Tails' help. The shared vision continued. Naruto and Nine Tails looked at Jiraiya's face in the picture and rushed out of the toilet with the body flicker technique. Nine Tails shouted, Follow! Follow! Then a large group of pigeons followed behind Jiraiya. Jiraiya was angry, but because of the sticky crotch and the stench on his body, he finally disappeared from the picture with the body flicker technique. Nine Tails tried his best to control a group of pigeons to chase, but a clone was a clone after all, and neither he nor Naruto knew the body flicker technique, so naturally, they couldn't catch up. Naruto stared and said unwillingly, Hey? How did you let him run away? Nine Tails said helplessly, I can't use my chakra. What can I do? I use chakra to crush my opponents. I don't know anything like the body flicker technique. Nine Tails couldn't help but recall the past. It was said that Shikaku learned the body flicker technique because he beat him up. But then that guy hid in the desert, and Shikaku's combat power increased rapidly in the desert, so, TSK. The two were silent for a while. Naruto sighed. It seems that I have to hurry up and learn the body flicker technique. Nine Tails suggested. It's okay if you don't learn it, or you can expose the fact that you can control my chakra, so that you can directly use my chakra to speed up. Naruto rolled his eyes. Now that Woodleaf was watching him closely enough, he didn't want to ask for trouble. The shared vision continued. Another sneeze sounded from the toilet. Naruto and Kyuubi froze, then burst into cheerful laughter again. At the same time, Jiraiya turned into an umbu of Woodleaf and tiptoed to the river in the Woodleaf forest. He silently took off his pants and washed with tears. At this time, a head suddenly came out of the river. It was the ninja who washed his pants here before. Jiraiya was scared out of his wits, but when he thought that he wasn't using his own appearance, he forced himself to calm down and resisted the urge to knock him out. The ninja floated to the surface of the water and said timidly, "Boss, did you get hit too?" Jiraiya said with a black face. The little ninja who emerged from the water picked up his pants and washed them beside Jiraiya. Jiraiya said Jiraiya, "How can I wash you?" The little ninja changed his position timidly and came to the downstream of Jiraiya. But looking at the yellow stream, he couldn't put his pants in. He said weakly, "Boss, I'll wait for you to finish washing." So, Jiraiya washed his pants silently, and the people next to him stared. This state only lasted for 5 seconds, and Jiraiya couldn't stand it anymore. Body flicker technique appeared behind the ninja and chopped him. "You'd better faint for a while." The ninja didn't expect that his boss would attack him, and he was easily dealt with by Jiraiya. Then Jiraiya resisted the urge to make a bamboo raft to float the ninja away, and continued to wash. On the other side, when Naruto and Ninetales couldn't stand it anymore, they finally released the clone. After a while, when the two guys calmed down, Ninetales was still a little interested and said, "Where do you think that guy will wash his pants?" "Who? Jiraiya?" Naruto inferred. With such a strong smell on his body, it's impossible for him to go back to a hotel or something. That guy can't afford to lose face, so. Ninetales' eyes lit up and said, "So, it must be a place where there is no one, a place where there is no one in the Woodleaf," Naruto added. "There must be water, and it's best if it's flowing water." Ninetales. "Then it's a small river, but I don't know if it's in the east or the west," Naruto thought. "Which one is closer?" Ninetales replied affirmatively. "The east." Naruto made a hand seal. Beast clone technique. Pung pung, pung. 50 pigeons fell all over the room. Ninetales wondered, "So many?" Naruto smiled and said, "Look for both sides together, 30 in the east and 20 in the west. Moreover, when we find that guy, he will definitely be angry. At that time, it's inevitable to have a few more clones in order to see him for a while." Ninetales nodded after listening, narrowed his eyes and began to establish spiritual sharing. A minute later, the mighty pigeon brigade set off. 10 minutes later, the pigeon brigade headed to the east arrived early, landed in the forest, and then quietly approached. "Huh. There's a person without pants fainting on the shore?" Naruto suddenly woke up. By the river, without pants, fainting. These 3 keywords quickly ran through Naruto's mind. Then there are only 2 possibilities for this result. The first is that he met a woman taking a bath here, and was beaten by her perverted body. Would an Umbu ninja be easily beaten by a woman taking a bath? There are too few women in the Woodleaf who can satisfy this situation. Then there is only one truth. Naruto felt that he was instantly possessed by the famous detective Sherlock Holmes Conan. It's also the possibility with the highest probability. It's that he met Jiraiya, who also came here to wash his pants. When the two met, Jiraiya became angry. Naruto ordered, "All pigeons spread out. The enemy has found us." Number 1 to number 10 fly to the sky to attract the enemy's attention. 10 pigeons flew up and were then shot through by stones. Naruto sneered. "This exposed our position. Jiraiya is probably confused by anger." Naruto continued to order. Number 15, number 16, and number 30 used the bionic transformation jutsu to hide in the tree hole. Bang, bang, bang. The 3 clones were in 3 directions, and after hearing the order, they turned into a piece of wood on the spot, and talked about small stones and dead leaves. Number 11 and number 12 take off to attract the enemy. Number 13 and number 14 lurk to the river, and use the bionic transformation jutsu to camouflage on the branches of the river. Number 11 and 12 pigeons were shot through one after another. However, Naruto's goal was achieved. Number 13 and number 14 successfully occupied a favorable position and hid. In a while, it's up to these two to watch a good show. At the same time, number 15, number 16, and number 30 are the hidden backup. If number 13 and number 14 by the river are discovered, they can find a chance to continue to sneak over. Naruto's plan can be said to be the best at this stage. However, the opponent is one of the Sannin, Jiraiya. Naruto felt that it's not safe, so he continued to arrange. Number 17 to number 20, fly close to the ground at a low altitude and pull away from the target. Number 21 to number 27, keep hiding in the woods. Number 28 and number 29, hide in the river. Those who widen the distance between them could be considered the backup plan. Keeping the original hiding in the woods is a free way to calm the enemy. Hiding in the river is a substitute for number 13 and number 14 on the tree beside the river. Under normal circumstances, this kind of arrangement can fool even the Anbu ninjas. Unfortunately, Jiraiya is on guard, and his desire to eliminate the pigeons is very strong. Standing in the woods, Jiraiya transformed into an Anbu ninja and quickly made hand seals. Heaven cover formation. A perceptual ball with Jiraiya as the center quickly spread around. Stones flew from Jiraiya's hand, and Naruto's arrangement collapsed. All the clones were destroyed, and the spiritual sharing was cut off. Even the ones in the river and on the tree couldn't escape. After the spiritual link was broken, Naruto sighed. What a powerful detection method. Ninetales agreed. It's good, alas, it's a pity. Naruto also sighed. After all, one of the Sannin is one of the Sannin, and he can't always calculate. 9 Llamas. Sensei, this guy came back to Woodleaf to accept me as a disciple. Do you think I should let him teach me this ninjutsu? Ninetales was stunned and said in horror. He came to accept you as a disciple? Then you. Naruto, can you be more shameless? Naruto, Chapter 121. That night, 3 figures sneaked into Naruto's house. They were dressed in Woodleaf Anbu ninja's uniform. Naruto was lying on the bed, breathing steadily. The 3 Anbu ninja exchanged glances, and in the next moment, they rolled up Naruto and took him away. After the Woodleaf Anbu ninja left, Naruto crawled out from under the bed and said to Ninetales, I told you these bastards will definitely come for revenge. Ninetales grinned and said, I'm starting to look forward to it. Naruto's eyes also curved with a smile. The doppelganger's mouth was now wrapped in a waterproof sugar coating, waiting for Naruto's order to bite the sugar coating. That's a deluxe version of the golden ball. Naruto's original words were, Don't let me write my name upside down for a week. Woodleaf Ninja Village. The night was a little cold, and the cold moonlight was a little erratic because of the flowing clouds, appearing and disappearing. 3 shadows quickly shuttled through the alleys of Woodleaf, rushing towards the small forest on the edge of Woodleaf. In the distance, there were several more figures following, plus the 3 in front, there were 8. Behind these 8 figures, Naruto was far behind. Relying on the positioning of the doppelganger, he slowly followed. Where are these bastards taking me? TSK, the other people are also here, these 8 people won't join forces. Ninetales replied stubbornly, so what if they join forces? I'll come out and deal with them all. If Jiraiya doesn't participate, Naruto believes that Ninetales can still deal with it. With Jiraiya, it's difficult. After 5 minutes, the people in front finally stopped. The leader ordered, throw away the quilt, and hang people upside down on the tree. Naruto looked at these people with spiritual sharing. They were all wearing masks, and he couldn't tell who was who. A red and white cat mask, a blue and white dog mask, and a yellow and white monkey mask. After tying him up, the ninja in the red and white cat mask said to Naruto, Boy, you did what you did during the day, right? Naruto's clone did not reply. The blue and white dog masked ninja said, Uzumaki Naruto joined the medical ninja training class organized by Sandaime Hokage for a month. Did you make the medicine during the day? Naruto's clone continued to remain silent. His mouth was stuffed with a mouthful of golden pills, so he really couldn't speak. In addition to his posture, the pills would probably fall out of his mouth if he opened it. The ninja in the red and white cat mask took out a bottle of medicine. Take this, and I'll forget about what happened during the day. The yellow and white monkey-faced ninja sneered and said, Hee hee, don't worry, it's not poison. I just found someone to imitate your prescription and enhanced it, adding a few more effects. It's enough for you to feel good. Before Naruto could refuse, 7 or 8 pills were stuffed into Naruto's mouth. For a moment, Naruto's mouth was stuffed even more. The ninja in the red and white cat mask lifted Naruto's body from the upside down, and at the same time poured a large bottle of water down his throat. This medicine will dissolve in the water. Take it obediently. Take it. Yes, take it. At the same time, the Umbu ninja who grabbed Naruto's face frowned. He felt that something was wrong with the hand. But it was too late. Because he forced it, the small golden pill in Naruto's mouth was crushed. The order from the main body, explode. Bang. At this time, the closest person to Naruto's clone was the red and white masked man who seemed to be the captain. The blue and white masked man next to him was not far away. This guy helped Naruto's body and helped Naruto stand up so that he could take the pills. The yellow and white masked man was patting Naruto's butt. He imagined that something would spurt out here and flow all over his body. But that was destined to be a fantasy. Naruto's clone was released, and the golden powder was sprayed around. The golden powder flew, and the 3 people were directly dyed golden. If there was a group fight, what if the other side had more people? If he grabbed one and beat him to death, then the people around him would not dare to make a move. This was the experience of Naruto's previous life. It was just right to use it now. Naruto couldn't deal with 8 people, so he would grab one and beat him to death. Let me tell you a piece of good news. My medicine is also an enhanced version. Naruto walked out. Bastard. You're courting death. The 3 people attacked Naruto. Bang. Naruto's clone exploded again, spewing out a burst of golden powder. This time, the 3 people dodged. Then another Naruto walked out. It's useless. I have as many clones as I want. Naruto controlled the clone through mental link to communicate with the 3 people. Since you are in charge of monitoring me, it's not too much for me to test whether you are worthy, right? After all, people need privacy. Shameless pervert like you peeping on me. Even if I'm not a girl, I'll still be shy. At this point, the effect of the medicine began to take effect. The 3 people sneezed one after another. The red and white masked ninja stared at Naruto and said fiercely, You'll regret it, achoo. Then he waved to the others. Let's retreat for today. The 3 ninjas of the Umbu department all glared at Naruto. Then they turned around and left. But after taking a few steps, they couldn't help but retreat. There were no less than 1,000 golden Naruto walking towards them with his hands in his pockets. To be honest, the number of clones scared them. And golden. The 3 of them looked at each other and used the teleportation technique in 3 directions. But soon they also retreated. The Naruto from all sides seemed to be like 4 square formations, crushing over. There were clones on the ground and on the trees. As long as they didn't have wings, it was impossible to leave today. I didn't ask you to leave. Go that way. Naruto looked at the 3 with a smile. If I let you go today, there will be a lot of trouble in the future. So, I won't let you go today if I don't beat you until you're convinced. The leader of the Umbu department sneezed twice and said fiercely to Naruto, Do you think this kind of garbage clones will work on us? Naruto shrugged. Then let's try. 5 Naruto walked out from each side and attacked the 3 of them. The 3 Umbu department ninjas looked at each other and pulled out the ninja swords on their backs. Today let us teach you a lesson. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Although Sandame Naruto asked us to protect you, teaching you how to be a person is also a kind of protection. After cutting off 2 of Naruto's clones, the Umbu department ninja's eyes were even fiercer. At this time, Naruto's main body among the clones pressed his right hand on his left wrist and said, I also like to use a sword. The seal was triggered and the green sleeve sword appeared in his hand. He pulled out the sword. The weight was cancelled. The first gate of Hashiman Tanku, open. Chakra's wind attribute was poured into the sword body, compressing it to the extreme. Since he wanted to fight, he had to bring out the power of thunder to have the effect of prestige. Naruto's foot landed on the ground. Dong! It was like a round wooden bell. In an instant, a 1-meter diameter pit was created on the ground. The sword light flashed. Ding! 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 Naruto appeared behind the three and slowly closed the green sleeve sword. Crack! At the same time, the ninja swords in the hands of the three were cut off. The moment the blade fell to the ground, a name flashed in the hearts of the three at the same time. Woodleaf White Fang. Do you still think you can teach me a lesson? Naruto turned around and looked at the three with ridicule. Chapter 122. If you still think you have the ability to teach me a lesson, then continue. Today, I will completely defeat you. The evening wind blew down a few leaves, fluttering with a hint of coolness. At this time, Ninetails suddenly warned, "Behind you." Naruto didn't hesitate. Chakra exploded under his feet, and his whole body shot out. At the same time, the Umbu ninja behind Naruto didn't know when, but he missed. It was the man with the red and white cat mask. Naruto glanced at the cat mask ninja, standing with the three people from the corner of his eyes. Two ninjas with red and white cat masks, so one of them was a clone. At the same time, judging from the speed of the movement, the one that appeared behind Naruto was most likely the real body. The man with the cat mask was about to continue to attack, but when he took a breath he couldn't help but sneeze. Naruto seized the opportunity, and his left hand pulled out 2 shurikens from his ninja belt and threw them. The other 2 ninjas reacted and were about to throw ninja tools to intercept. But Naruto's 2 shurikens collided halfway, and a ding sound suddenly changed, and he dodged the interception, sweeping the belt of the sneezing ninja. This level of attack, if it was in normal circumstances, naturally wouldn't be difficult for an Umbu ninja, but at the moment of sneezing, part of the muscles habitually contracted, and the coordination was greatly reduced. In a moment of negligence, the belt broke. The cat mask ninja was about to catch the slipping pants, but his body couldn't help but sneeze again. This time, the pants fell to the bottom, until the calf binding. The wind blew on his balls. Naruto mocked, "Is this the level? It's really bad." The other 2 ninjas blocked in front of their boss, and Naruto waited quietly on the side, waiting for the other 2 ninjas to sneeze. The Umbu ninjas all wore masks, so the drug effect didn't enter the body through the mouth and nose, but the drug on other parts of the body would still cause an allergic reaction, but it would take a little longer. Achoo! The red and white cat mask ninja sneezed. Even the ninja with the blue and white dog mask sneezed. Next was the yellow and white monkey mask. The 3 of them sang louder and louder, like a trio of frogs singing in a pond. Naruto smirked and picked the moment when the 3 of them were sneezing. He used more than 10 shurikens and finally broke the belts of the other 2. At the same time, the wind blades scattered, sweeping across the 3 players' clothes. The scattered wind blades' damage was low, but they were definitely capable of ripping through clothes. Soon the 3 of them were naked. Do you still want to fight? 3 grown men. Aren't you ashamed of running naked in the forest at night? The 3 of them flew into a rage out of humiliation. Just as they were about to attack again, a white light suddenly exploded in the darkness. The 3 of them thought that it was a flash bomb and turned their heads away. Then the white light lit up again. The 3 of them were puzzled. The white light was not as bright as they had imagined. Looking back, they saw that the guy they hated so much was pointing his camera at them. Click. Gotcha. He kept patting. It was a camera supported by a tripod on the ground. The blue and white masked ninja suddenly made a move and decided to snatch the camera or destroy it. At this time, Naruto used the substitution jutsu between the clone and the camera that he had prepared. The yellow and white monkey mask ninja grabbed again, and the substitution jutsu was activated again. After a few times, the camera was hidden somewhere. Admit defeat. Although you are wearing masks and your faces are not seen, I believe that many of your colleagues can recognize you. What will happen then? You have offended people in your daily life, right? Or people who don't like you. TSK, if they get your photos, the story will be even more exciting. Also, don't blame me for not reminding you. The golden powder that you have been poisoned with has exceeded the limit. If you don't take the antidote in time, It won't be a week of diarrhea. You may even die of dehydration. Think about it. The three Umbu ninjas sneezed several times. If the three of them hadn't vomited all the things in their stomachs during the day, the scene might have been dirty now. Naruto calmly waited for the three to reply. When the sneezing finally slowed down, the leader gritted his teeth and said, "What do you want?" Naruto rolled his eyes and complained, "Don't say it like I bullied you. If you didn't kidnap me in the middle of the night, I'm afraid there wouldn't be so much trouble. My request is very simple. Make a pledge of allegiance and follow me in the future. I will naturally take care of you when you become one of my people." As soon as this sentence came out, the three of them immediately refuted. "Impossible, we only listen to Naruto-sama's orders." Naruto rolled his eyes again and explained, "The so-called Pledge of Allegiance is to serve me tea and pour water when you have nothing to do, and help me teach a few people that I'm too lazy to teach when I have something to do. I won't let you do anything that will harm your personal reputation and the interests of the village." Naruto glanced at the three people's faces. "How about it? Do you agree or disagree? Say something. If you don't agree, we will continue to fight." Naruto looked at the moon in the sky and smiled. "Anyway, there is still a long time to go." The cat mask stared at Naruto and confirmed, "That's all?" Naruto nodded with certainty, "That's all." The blue and white dog mask asked, "Then give us the photos first." Naruto glanced at the blue and white masked ninja contemptuously and said, "Do you think I'm stupid? If you want the photos, then perform well. I'm not going to talk nonsense with you." In short, you are not in a position to talk about conditions now. Just say it. Do you agree or not? If you don't agree, I will seize the time to beat you until you agree. The three of them looked at each other. They were not in the right state. They could not beat him, and they could not run away. Today they admitted defeat. The cat-masked man nodded and agreed first. Then the other two followed suit. Naruto nodded with satisfaction. "Now stick out your tongues and let me take a look, then I will give you the antidote." "Stick out my tongue? What for?" The three of them were stunned, then suddenly realized. They looked at Naruto seriously and stuck out their tongues. Naruto looked at the three people's tongues. There was no curse mark on them like Danzo's, so he nodded with satisfaction. He took out 3 small blue pills and threw them to the three. "This is a temporary antidote. It can relieve you from sneezing and stomachache for an hour." The three of them took the pills and looked at Naruto. Naruto smiled and said, "Take the pills quickly, then follow me to deal with the others. If you perform well, I will give you a complete antidote. If you don't perform well, then you can continue to suffer. I will also print out more photos." The three of them looked at each other. At this time, they really regretted kidnapping Naruto tonight. It would be better if they took a step back. Now there was only a cliff behind them. In the end, the three of them took the blue pills. Naruto raised his hand and pointed to the west. "There are 2 people a kilometer away. Go and deal with them. I'll deal with the other guys." Suddenly, there was a helper, so Naruto felt a lot more relaxed. At the same time, on a tall tree a kilometer away, Naruto manipulated the doppelganger to greet the 2 people hiding in the canopy who were planning to evacuate. "Good evening, the moon is quite round tonight." The 2 of them looked at each other and planned to evacuate, but they didn't know when 2 big golden spiders had climbed on their backs. Bang! There was an explosion and golden powder sprayed. The 2 of them were hit. Naruto released the doppelganger with satisfaction and left the rest to the 3 of them. At this point, there were only 3 people left. Naruto naturally didn't consider Jiraiya. He decided to choose one of the other 2. But to Naruto's surprise, those 2 people had been dealt with. They were stacked on the ground, and a person was sitting on top of them. It was most likely the culprit. The person had snow-white hair, which was dazzling and bright under the moonlight. Naruto's doppelganger just glanced at it and felt that his eyes were stung, so he decided to kill himself. This person can't be provoked. Can't be provoked. But that person waved to the place where the doppelganger was hiding. Naruto's doppelganger and the main body communicated. "Should I go over? If I go over, I'll probably be beheaded, right?" The main body replied, Go and see the situation and find out what's going on. Under Naruto's order, the doppelganger dragged his heavy steps to the front of the person. The person carefully looked at Naruto for a long time and said, "This is a doppelganger?" The doppelganger didn't show any fear on the surface and replied firmly, "Yes, you can just tell me if you have something to say?" Jiraiya nodded and said, "You've mastered the multiple shadow doppelganger jutsu well. Tell your main body to come over. I want to accept him as a disciple." After saying that, he kicked the doppelganger. Obviously, Jiraiya didn't know that Naruto was mentally linked with the doppelganger. So he wanted to send the message to Naruto's main body by destroying the doppelganger. Kakashi often did this kind of thing in the past. After kicking Naruto's doppelganger, Jiraiya seemed to have drunk a big mouthful of liquor and shouted, "Cool." It can be seen that Jiraiya's resentment towards Naruto was not small. On the other side, Naruto was struggling whether to go or not. There was also the matter of apprenticeship with Jiraiya. Naruto thought about it carefully. He didn't need the things that Jiraiya knew. The only thing he was interested in was the perception ninjutsu. But for such a ninjutsu, he thought about it and decided to forget about it. On the contrary, if he apprenticed himself to Tsunade, he could strengthen medical ninjutsu. Well, by then he could make a more powerful golden cough. He could also learn strange power to nourish his body and improve his strength. His strength would increase, and he could open the 8 gates. It could be said that it was an excellent combination. Well, it's decided. Naruto sent his doppelganger to find Jiraiya. "Hello, the main body said that he doesn't want to apprentice himself to you." Jiraiya shouted, "Do you know who I am? I'm Mount Myaboku." Jiraiya jumped up and was about to pose. At this time, Naruto's clone avatar disappeared. Bang! Jiraiya was petrified. After a while he shouted, "Wait! I haven't finished yet." Chapter 123. Jiraiya foolishly posed for a while. Someone actually rejected him? Is he the great toad sage Jiraiya of Mount Myaboku? One of the legendary Woodleaf Sannin Jiraiya. It must be that brat doesn't know who I am. Jiraiya said to himself, and his hands quickly formed hand seals. Heavenly cover formation, expand. A spherical perception barrier with Jiraiya as the center rapidly expanded. Then Jiraiya disappeared in place and chased after Naruto. Naruto came to the 3 Umbu ninjas he had just subdued. At this time, the 3 ninjas had already solved the other 2. Naruto looked at the 2 ninjas who were stripped naked and tied to the ground, and then looked at the 3 who robbed others' clothes and put them on themselves and praised. "Not bad, you just followed me, and you already have my style of doing things." When the 3 of them heard this, their hearts were filled with annoyance. But under the threat, they didn't dare to be too obvious, and they were silent. Naruto turned to the 2 stripped ninjas and said, "Stick out your tongue." The 2 ninjas didn't resist too much and cooperated with sticking out their tongue. There was no unique mark on their tongue that Danzo's men had. Guessed wrong? So Danzo's men were one of the other 2? Thinking that the other 2 were being used as chairs by Jiraiya, Naruto gave up the idea of finding out. He summoned the camera from the seal scroll. But the next moment, the camera was taken away and destroyed by the dog-faced Umbu ninja. Naruto looked at the dog-faced Umbu ninja and sneered. "Do you think I only prepared 1 camera?" Then he summoned another camera. The dog-faced Umbu ninja stared, but this time the 3 didn't make a move. Naruto set up the tripod and took pictures of the 2 ninjas who had been stripped naked and tied to the ground. "I'll give you 2 a choice, the same as these 3. In the future, if you have nothing to do, serve me tea and pour water. If you have something to do, help me beat a few people I'm too lazy to beat. If you agree, I'll give you the antidote and..." Naruto patted the camera in his hand and said, "Here are the photos. How about it? Make your choice." The 2 of them admitted defeat much faster than the 3 ninjas. Then he gave each of them a small blue pill. The dog mask asked, "Where's our antidote?" Naruto took out a dark blue pill and handed it to the dog-masked ninja. The dog-masked ninja opened a corner of the mask and swallowed it. The other 2 also looked at Naruto. "What about us?" Naruto shrugged and said, "What I gave you before was the antidote. What else do you need?" The two people wearing the cat and monkey masks looked at the dog-masked ninja. The dog-faced ninja's body stiffened. He pointed at himself and said, "Then what did I just eat?" Naruto sneered, "You're really a dog. You just eat it when I give it to you. Since you just hit me and broke my camera, the pill I gave you is naturally a punishment." Don't worry, it's not diarrhea. It's just a small pill that produces a lot of gas in the stomach. Oh. And then you. Before Naruto finished speaking, the dog-masked ninja had already farted. Because he had diarrhea for 5 or 6 hours during the day, this fart hurt his ass. Naruto added, "The dark blue pill is blueberry flavored. You deserve it." At the same time, he took out a yellow and a red one and asked the others, "There are also durian and apple flavored ones. Are any of you interested?" The two ninjas took a step back in unison. Naruto looked at the two tied-up people again. Their heads were shaking like a rattle drum. That kind of thing, only a fool would eat. Thinking of this, they all looked at someone who farted blueberry. The person who invented this kind of thing. How crazy must they be? Just thinking about it makes people despair. Everyone has made up their minds in their hearts. In the future, when they see Naruto, they will avoid him. At this time, Jiraiya rushed over and shouted, "Boy, do you know who I am?" Naruto only felt his scalp tingle. He turned around stiffly. The others also looked at Jiraiya. They exchanged glances with each other. This person's voice seems to have heard it somewhere. Where is it? In the bathroom during the day. The ninja's memory naturally can't be the memory of a fish, so they quickly remembered where they heard it. During the day in the bathroom, they heard this person urging them to give up their position. The few who understood exchanged glances and their eyes all lit up. It's a helper. But then it went dark. With that person's style, maybe he will use the photo as a threat and push them out as a shield. The two wearing cat and monkey masks sighed secretly, but the two tied up on the ground became brighter and brighter. They looked at the person's clothes. They also thought that Naruto might let them do it. In that way, they could learn from their seniors. The three of them, cat, dog, and monkey, took off this person's clothes and put it on themselves. There is a good saying, it's natural for the old to bully the new. There is also a saying, die a friend, die a friend, die a friend. Don't ask me if the Japanese know this saying, I don't know either. Do you know who I am? Jiraiya stared at Naruto and asked again. Naruto's liver hurt when he heard this. He smiled bitterly. I don't know. Jiraiya suddenly made a pose and said, then listen carefully. I'm one of the Woodleaf Sannin, the white-haired boy of Mount Mayaboku, Toad Sannin. The handsome boy who can make crying children shut up immediately, Jiraiya-sama, refers to this handsome boy. At the same time, the summoning technique was activated, and a huge toad wearing a loyalty necklace appeared under Jiraiya's feet. The funny thing was that the huge toad actually made the same pose as Jiraiya. Funny. Naruto looked at the silly Jiraiya and felt his liver hurt. The other 5 people were enlightened. Jiraiya. One of the Sannin, Jiraiya? Looking at the toad under the white-haired man's feet, the 5 people believed. For a moment, they seemed to see the light. If this person is Jiraiya, then he can definitely teach this naughty kid who tortured them so much. For a moment, everyone seemed to have found their backbone. And they all retreated away from Naruto. The 2 naked people also gave up the idea of snatching the new clothes. Old people and new people, they don't exist anymore. The next one to be taught a lesson will definitely be the naughty kid. However, the next moment, the scene they imagined in their minds, where Jiraiya will show his power and punish the naughty kid on the spot, didn't happen. They even thought their ears were broken. Jiraiya shouted at Naruto. Kid, this sage is very optimistic about you. Be my disciple. Hearing this sentence, the 5 people's worldview collapsed. My ears are broken. Why is he accepting a disciple? Why not just beat him up? Uncle, you also fell into his trap. You also had diarrhea for a day. What made you let go of your hatred and accept such a little beast as your disciple? Also, even if you want to accept a disciple, beat him up first. What's with this peaceful scene of accepting a disciple? The 5 people in the audience roared in their hearts. However, what made them even more dumbfounded was that the naughty kid in their heads said to Jiraiya coolly, Oh, I know, but I still don't want to worship you as a teacher. Gotcha. The 5 people felt their worldview collapse again. It couldn't be more broken. Chapter 124. Do you know who I am? You actually refused me. Jiraiya's worldview also collapsed. But Naruto refused so decisively. Jiraiya asked several times in a row, and Naruto gave the same answer. Jiraiya even recounted his experience, and he was so anxious that he even asked the other 5 onlookers to prove his greatness. However, Naruto still refused. In the end, Jiraiya was convinced of one thing. That is, Naruto knew how great he was, but he still didn't want to be his apprentice. This answer made him unable to believe it. Can you tell me why? Jiraiya really wanted to know the reason. Naruto answered very simply. Because it's not suitable. Not suitable? Jiraiya was furious, and he repeatedly cursed in his heart. Not suitable, my ass. He was obviously the most suitable. And he swore that if he wasn't suitable, then there was no suitable person in the world. First of all, he was the master of Naruto's father. Second, he held the key to 9 tails. Only he could teach Naruto to master that power. Also, Naruto's name was the name of the author of his novel. Finally, he really wanted to accept Naruto as his apprentice. Because he wanted to protect Naruto. He knew very well that Naruto was now a piece of fat meat in the eyes of the various forces in the wood leaf. He was a war weapon, and no one cared about his feelings. His existence was just to help those people when they needed it. How miserable that kind of life was. Although most ninjas' lives were like this, he felt that Naruto's life shouldn't be like this. Naruto's father was Yondaime Naruto, and he sacrificed himself to save the stupid apprentice of the entire village. He was proud to have such an apprentice. So Naruto should have a better future. And he was Naruto's protection. He even had a plan. He taught Naruto the Rasengan developed by the 4th generation Naruto, not just to inherit his father's legacy. More importantly, it was a warning to those who wanted to extend their claws to Naruto, warning them that Naruto was the son of the 4th Naruto. He knew that those people would know Naruto's identity. After all, he was a big shot in Wood Leaf. Also, he was Naruto's protection. If they wanted to touch Naruto, they would have to go through him first. This was a very good plan. This time, he returned to Wood Leaf to carry out this plan. This plan had been in his head for several years. But the premise was that Naruto became his disciple. This was supposed to be a matter of course, but he was rejected again and again. Jiraiya laughed and asked, "Then who is suitable?" Naruto replied without hesitation, "Tsunade is suitable." Jiraiya's brain suddenly stopped working. He thought of all kinds of possibilities. He thought that Naruto might say Kakashi, thought that he might say Sandaime Naruto. But he didn't expect to say Tsunade. Jiraiya was stunned for a moment and asked curiously, "Tsunade is back?" Naruto replied simply, "No." Jiraiya was thankful that his heart was good enough. Otherwise, he was afraid that it would have stopped beating. However, since Naruto knew about Tsunade, he obviously knew about Wood Leaf Sannin. In other words, Naruto knew that he was also one of the Sannin. In other words, Naruto knew from the beginning who he rejected. His liver was hurting. However, Jiraiya couldn't figure out why Naruto chose Tsunade, someone who wasn't even in the village. If Naruto chose someone else, he was afraid that he would directly go over and beat that person, then take him to Naruto and ask who he chose. But he couldn't beat Tsunade. Instead, he might be the one who was beaten. Tsunade was the little princess in his heart, who told him to have a crush on that girl. Jiraiya swore that this was the purest emotion, and it had nothing to do with chest size. Why? Jiraiya couldn't figure it out and asked. Naruto's answer was as simple as ever. Because it's suitable. This sentence was as simple as a nonsense sentence. But Jiraiya was still not convinced. How is it suitable? He was already roaring in his heart. Although Tsunade was also one of the Sannin, she didn't know Rasengan, she couldn't teach you the power to control Bijou, and she didn't have the key. How is it suitable? What's more, Tsunade had long been disheartened by Wood Leaf. She was no longer in Wood Leaf. Thinking of this, Jiraiya suddenly felt sad. Naruto explained seriously, "My medical ninja talent is very good. Jiraiya was at a loss. So he lost to medical ninjutsu? Naruto wants to save the dying and heal the wounded for the rest of his life? Although this seems to be a good choice. But he always felt that something was wrong. Minato and Uzumaki Kushina's child will be a medical ninja. Minato was the Grim Reaper on the battlefield, and Kushina had a violent temper. These two people's genes fused together. No matter how he thought about it, it's impossible to combine them into a medical ninja. Jiraiya couldn't figure it out, and Naruto no longer paid attention to him. In Naruto's view, things were already very clear. He turned around and looked at the 5 spectators who had been watching the show for a long time. You guys are my little brothers from now on, do you hear me? The 5 of them were originally very afraid of being called little brother. To be ashamed of this was the biggest stain in one's life. But after watching the scene just now, he now had a feeling of admiration for Naruto. They nodded like chickens pecking rice. In front of them was a person who treated Jiraiya, one of the Sannin, as nothing. A real boss. Bang. Bang. 2 fart sounds. The dog-masked ninja was still fart with blueberry flavor, but now he didn't reject it, and his back was straight. His fart was even more dignified, as if he was proud. Naruto raised his eyebrows. The 5 of them suddenly looked obedient. Is this a fox pretending to be a tiger? It feels good. It seems that reputation is a necessary thing. One of the wood leaf Sannin is just a sign. And doing nothing is better than having a photo in his hand. Well, you guys leave first, and wear your clothes. Here's the antidote. Naruto threw the same blue pill to the dog-masked ninja. However, the dog-masked ninja didn't eat it and put it in his pocket. This is really the antidote. Naruto explained. The dog-masked ninja nodded seriously and said, I believe it, but it's good like this. Naruto was stunned. What is this? Fart as perfume, shameless? Original post by Zhao Gong. Confused, but Naruto liked to cater to people's preferences. He threw the other 2 flavored pills in his hand. If you like it, take it. These are banana-flavored and durian-flavored. Well, if you like other fruits, I can also make them for you free of charge. In Naruto's mind, an Umbu ninja farting every few steps would be very funny. A man with a fart BGM. The 5 of them bowed respectfully to Jiraiya, and then to Naruto and left. Naruto suddenly asked Jiraiya, of the 2 people you killed, are they Danzo's people? Jiraiya subconsciously replied, yes. Then he came back to his senses and couldn't help but look at Naruto seriously. To be able to ask this sentence, he suddenly realized, Naruto doesn't seem to be as stupid as he thought, although he thought of Naruto as the biggest fool in the world a second ago. Chapter 125. Naruto refused Jiraiya's offer to be his disciple, but Jiraiya didn't give up. Then he came to Naruto almost every day, which made Naruto very annoyed. They would bump into each other while walking, buying fruits, going to the ninja store, and sometimes even suddenly appearing at home. If it was a cute child, it would be fine, but a big guy Tion following him around. Naruto's liver hurt. And Jiraiya's appearance has affected Naruto's normal life and training plan. Also, because of Jiraiya, Naruto couldn't live in the store manager's house. So there were no delicious desserts, so Ninetales was also very annoyed. Ninetales said more than once that he should kill him. Naruto could only say, calm down, we can't kill this guy. After being tormented for a week, Naruto felt that he should do something, and said to Jiraiya, who was playing with the alarm clock, what can you teach me? Naruto's alarm clock was given to him by Kakashi for the umpteenth time. It was a cute bear cub. Perhaps because of this, the alarm clock didn't die under the icicle. Hearing Naruto ask himself, Jiraiya thought that Naruto finally changed his mind and said, there are actually 2 chakra in your body. I can teach you how to control this power. Your opponent in the Chunin exam is Sannin's my love, right? I can guarantee that if you don't learn how to use this power, you will definitely not be his opponent, and even, you will probably be killed by him. Ninetales chakra? Sorry, Naruto really didn't need it. Because Ninetales had sold his chakra many times, claiming that as long as Naruto ate more desserts, he would let him use it once. Of course at first it was 100 yuan, but Naruto didn't agree. The price always followed the demand, so it was reduced to 1 yuan. But Naruto didn't even want a single piece. One could only imagine how depressed Nine Tails was about this. Are you talking about the Nine Tails chakra in my body? Jiraiya nodded repeatedly. Naruto shook his head. Sorry, I will never use this beast's chakra, because he killed my parents. Beast? Nine Tails was furious and roared. Naruto, how dare you call me a beast? Naruto comforted her. Don't worry, don't worry. It's just to show that I'm tired of you. It's not real. You know, I respect you very much. Nine Tails' fur was still standing on end. His whole body became fat because of his fur. Naruto used his trump card. How about I eat more desserts when I go to the ninja store today? Nine Tails' fur continued to stand on end, and he bargained fiercely. 10 yuan. Naruto. 5 quiet most. You know when to stop. Otherwise I won't eat dessert today. Nine-tailed Fox's bristling fur instantly calmed down, and he laid down with a serene expression. 5 then. Well, the great Nine-Tails was completely lost in the temptation of desserts, and he didn't even care about his integrity. When Jiraiya heard that Naruto was unwilling to use Nine-Tails' power, he began to talk about various reasons. What kind of power is without evil? As long as you have it in your own hands, you can use it properly. Naruto already understood such a simple truth, and he interrupted. You don't have to say more. It's impossible. If you have other prices, mention it as soon as possible. If not, we can only break up. Jiraiya took a deep breath, thought about it, and changed the condition. I can teach you the high-level ninjutsu created by Yondaime-sama Naruto. If you learn this, you can also break my love's defense. As he spoke, he looked around, as if he was looking for something to demonstrate. Naruto shook his head directly and said, Are you talking about Rasengan? I've already learned it. Naruto raised his right hand, and chakra gathered in his palm, rotated and compressed. In an instant, a ball of light compressed by chakra storm appeared in Naruto's hand. Jiraiya's eyes widened, and he stared at the ball of light compressed by chakra in Naruto's hand. From the color and aura, Jiraiya could feel that this was a genuine Rasengan. At this time, Naruto raised his left hand again, and another one appeared in his left hand. 2 Rasengan appeared in Naruto's hand at the same time, showing that Naruto's mastery of Rasengan was very skillful. This is impossible. How did you learn it? Who taught you? Naruto calmly put away chakra in his hand, and the ball of light in his palm dissipated. He said, It seems that Yondaime-sama Naruto didn't tell you that I have already met Yondaime-sama Naruto once. Naruto pointed to the seal on his stomach. Before Yondaime-sama Naruto died, he sealed all chakra together in this technique. You can ask Yondaime-sama Naruto about the specifics, he knows something. Jiraiya stared at Naruto solemnly and said, So you already know that Yondaime-sama Naruto is? Naruto nodded and said, My father, I know. Jiraiya took a few deep breaths, and he felt that his head was a little short of oxygen. Naruto urged, What other ninjutsu do you have or other skills that can help me? Jiraiya wasn't sure. How about summoning technique? It's very suitable for you, from the fact that you use multiple shadow clone jutsu. I can see that your chakra is very abundant, just like your mother. Jiraiya didn't say the last sentence, but he said it in his heart. He was afraid of hurting Naruto. In his opinion, parents are taboo words for orphans. Naruto shook his head and said, I'm not interested in toads, and I don't intend to make toads my summoning technique. But I have some interest in summoning technique itself, but it's just an interest. Well, if he learned summoning technique, he could sign a contract with Rolling Stone, so that he could summon him to play around. As for the need for battle, he could change the contract when the time comes. Being rejected 3 times in a row, Jiraiya didn't know what to say. Senjutsu. That's only possible if he signs a contract with toads, and the inheritance of Senjutsu isn't something he can casually decide. He needs to find the guy called Child of the Prophecy. Thinking of Child of the Prophecy, Jiraiya had another headache. Great Toad Sage said that Child of the Prophecy was his apprentice, But none of his current apprentices met his requirements. Originally, he guessed that it was Nagato. But in the news not long ago, Nagato and the others unfortunately died. Sigh, Jiraiya felt that his hair was about to turn white. Well, his hair was white. While Jiraiya's heart was in a mess, Naruto said, "You are my father's sensei. I know you want to accept me as your apprentice because you want to help me. If you really help me, you can help me find Tsunade." The conversation ended here. From then on, Jiraiya didn't Tion come to Naruto so often. Naruto's life returned to the past once again. Time flashed. A month passed in a flash. Chunin's official exam finally arrived. On the night before the exam, Orochimaru appeared at Sasuke's house. Both of them were very calm and didn't fight. It was obvious that it wasn't the first time they met. Orochimaru leaned against the wall, his shadow elongated in the dim light, spreading into the incomparable darkness. "Do you really think Kakashi can make you stronger? I recently found out some interesting news." Jiraiya wanted to accept Uzumaki Naruto as his apprentice, but he was rejected. The little guy said that he wanted to take Tsunade as his master. Jiraiya must think Naruto is stupid, but I smell a trace of something unusual. Sasuke looked at Orochimaru calmly, his shadow elongated in the dim light, overlapping with Orochimaru's shadow in the darkness. "What do you want to say?" Orochimaru smiled charmingly. "You are so smart, you must know what I am talking about. Whether it is Jiraiya or Tsunade, they are both very powerful ninjas. No matter who Naruto takes as his master, his strength will grow rapidly, and you, Kakashi? What a joke. You will fall further and further behind Naruto. So, come with me. You are a person with great talent, and your talent will only be buried here. By the way, you know that Naruto is a demon fox, right? But I'm afraid you don't know what the so-called demon fox means. It is also a force, and a very powerful force. If Naruto masters it, you will only fall further and further behind." Sasuke's face was gloomy, and his eyes were full of confusion. Perhaps the confusion had always been there, but it only appeared at this moment. However, Sasuke's will not be convinced by a little confusion. He soon recovered his consciousness, clenched his fist, and said coldly, "I will defeat him in tomorrow's game." Orochimaru's mouth cracked open, and his voice was low, like the whisper of a demon. "If you lose, come with me." Silence. After a long time, Sasuke nodded. "Okay." You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.